What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. Now, if you're new to web development, let me just quickly show you what is HTML programming language. So let's say that you open up your browser and you would type in any website that you want. In this case, I'm just going to type espn.com. And you go anywhere on a page and you just right click it and you click on inspect and you'll see a mumbo jumbo gibberish jumping out. And that actually mumbo jumbo is actually HTML. And actually it's very easy. However, it's very important because it's responsible for structure of any website that you ever visited. And therefore, if you want to create amazing websites on your own, or you want to become a web developer, it's essential that you would learn the HTML. Now, to give you a different perspective, imagine that if you would want to build a house. You would always need to build a frame of the house first. You cannot build a house without a frame. So the HTML works the same way. In order for you to create a website, it doesn't matter how sophisticated it would be eventually, first you would always have to use the HTML to actually build the structure of your website. Now, a little bit of the boring theory. HTML is made up of HTML elements. And HTML elements consists of opening tag and a closing tag. However, some elements would have only one tag. Now, the tag wouldn't be shown on a page. However, tag is telling what type of element it is. So let's say that you wanted to add an image to your page, or you wanted to add a form to your page, or you would want to add a heading to your page. You get an idea. You would first need to create a tag name, and then within that tag, whatever you would write, actually browser would actually display that on a page. And all HTML really is just a bunch of elements stacked together. In order to follow this course, you will need a text editor. Now, there's obviously many text editors that you get, but the most popular probably one is the Notepad++. However, remember that if you're using Mac, you won't going to be able to use Notepad++. Now, I'm going to be using brackets, and I suggest you do the same because in my opinion, it has a lot of features, especially for somebody who's just starting out, and actually makes your learning curve much more smaller. And it's also free, so we don't need to waste any money. Now, there's a couple of other options like Text Wrangler or Sublime Text or Visual Studio. So you can get any of those, but I would really suggest using the brackets. You will also need a web browser to follow this course, and by default brackets come with Google Chrome, so you'll probably need to do that. But either way, even if you don't want to have the brackets or don't want to have a Google Chrome, you should have a text browser, otherwise you won't going to be able to see what you have built. And now if you want to follow along, I'm going to go and actually download the brackets text editor. Now let's open our web browser, and right away in Google I'm just going to type brackets text editor, or you can just type brackets and right away the first link is going to be brackets.io. So we just click it over here and you can see over here the download. Now if you want to check it out how the brackets look like, you can see over here in this picture, and you can see that it has a very simple, however very sleek interface, right? So it's very good if you're starting out. You have a lot of options how it can speed up your work. Now I'm just going to go over here and press download brackets.io. So fire up your text editors, and I'll see you in the next video. Now before we're going to open up the brackets text editor, let's create a folder somewhere on our desktop because that's probably going to be easiest. I'm going to name one HTML. You can name yours however you want. However, it would be important that it would be on a desktop and you actually would remember what is the name that you gave to your folder. Let's go ahead and open up brackets text editor. And unless you're doing some type of black magic, this is what you should be seeing. So this is going to be basically the opening file for the brackets. Now what we need to do right away is actually grab this folder that we created, this empty folder, and just drag it over here. And now you can see how it's showing up over here within the brackets, right? So we can maximize the screen. And over here, if we go to the left hand side, we just right click it and you see these options over here that you have. So we will just going to click a new file, and I'm going to call it index.html. And it is important that you both call it index, and also it is important that you call it HTML. And the reason why you're actually saying that it's index, because that's usually a main page for our website. And the reason why it has HTML extension is that the browser would know that you're actually talking about a HTML file. So if we go back over here to our folder, and you can see over here that it says index.html. However, here on the left hand side, you can right away see that it recognizes that it is a web HTML file, because you can see this little icon that says Chrome. So it knows that it needs to use the Chrome to actually open it up. Now we're going to be actually, during this course, we're going to be exploring the brackets. So I'm not going to do it too much in this first video because I want to get right to the HTML. So like I said, the HTML is basically consists of tags, and all you're basically doing is just stacking a bunch of elements in your web page. So let's say you would want some kind of title for your web page, right? You would create an element. Let's say after that you would decide that you want an image on your web page. Again, you would create an element. Then you would decide that you want some type of form. Let's say some kind of survey or something. You would create an element. So you get an idea. All you're doing is basically stacking up a bunch of elements in your web page, and the browser is showing them. Now, as you can see, some of elements have two tags, the opening tag and a closing tag, and some elements have the only one tag. However, you can see that those names are preset. They're not just, you cannot just come up with your own name and then expect that the browser is going to show it. You need to use the names that are actually preset. Now, there's not that many elements, so you don't need to worry about the fact that you could forget and never find out what is the name of the element. But it's quite a few, but it's not that many. So here's the deal. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you what is a typical layout for the website, right? So the first thing that we always would need to do in HTML document, we would need to write something like this, and we would need to put exclamation sign over here in the front, and over here we would need to write HTML like this. Now this is not really an HTML tag, so don't expect some kind of element popping up. It's pretty much you're just telling the browser what version of HTML you're using. And in this case, we're using HTML5. Now, another two tags that we're going to be creating are going to be the actual HTML tags that are actually going to signalize that everything that's going to be within these two tags actually going to be displayed on the website. Now, another two tags that always consist in any website are actually head and a body. And we always need to start with the head tags over here, and underneath the head tags actually are going to come the body tags. Now, the head tags are basically information about the web page, meaning, let's say some kind of crawlers or some kind of, let's say, search engines or whatever. They're all going to be looking for whatever is in a head element to actually find out about the page. However, everything that's going to be displayed on actual screen is going to be within this body tags over here. And the first thing that we're going to do in this lesson, we're actually going to create a title for our web page. And title is another thing that actually goes within the head element, but not in the body element. And the way we actually create a title for a web page, what we would need to do over here, we would need to write a title over here like this. And you can see the nice thing about brackets is as you're starting to type, it actually gives you a code hints like this. So only thing you need to do is actually just press it over here, close the tag, and you can see that right away that it creates a closing tag if the element has one. And let's say I'm going to write a title name here, and I'm just going to say the first website. Well, very boring, but nevertheless, it gets the job done, right? First website over here. Now, there's a couple of options how we can actually look at the website. Now, the regular way would be we could minimize this, but first we would need to save it. So we would need to go to the file in brackets, and we go over here and we have a save option. So we would have to first save the file over here. And then the next thing what we would need to do is open up the folder, and we can actually double click it over here. And you can see that I have this old thing coming up from the brackets IO. I'm just going to get rid of it, but you can see that first website over here, right? So that would be a pretty traditional way. But I can close this over here, and I can just show you what is the nice things about brackets. let's say that we actually maximize this, and I'm just gonna open this and I'll show you what it is. So we're just gonna change the screen, and again we're just gonna minimize this, but this has nothing to do with brackets. This is pretty much how we're working on a Mac. So what you're seeing over here is this little icon that I opened. That is actually a live preview. And what I mean by live preview, that in the brackets we can actually work, and it's right away showing everything that we're doing. So let's say that over here I would change my, let's say, change my mind, and I would say that, I don't know, this is a website about apples, right? So you can see as I'm typing, it's actually doing the same over here. Website about apples. And it's also going to work the same way in the next lessons when we're actually going to start working within our body and actually displaying elements in a page. And just don't worry about this element, but let's say right now if I would want to create some type of title, and I would say this is the title, you can see the nice things about brackets is that the fact that it's actually showing right away what we're doing. So sometimes, especially in the beginning when you are making mistakes, you don't want to save the file, then jump back and then realize that you did something wrong. In here in brackets, what's happening, the live preview is actually going to be correcting right away your mistakes. So you can feel comfortable even if you make a mistake, it's going to be much more easier for you to find. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML and brackets tutorial. In the last video, we actually created our first web page, and we learned how to make a title. And the title we had to make in between the title tags that are actually nested in between the head tags over here in our HTML document. And I changed the title for the name of this video. It's going to be headings in HTML. This is what we're going to be learning in this video. And also in the last video, we covered how brackets have actually a live preview. So whatever we're going to be writing is going to be appearing right here. We don't need to save our file and then go back and actually open it with our web browser. We can actually right away see our changes in the brackets. Now, what I want to quickly show you in the brackets over here, you can see this toggle menu working files and the folder that we're working in. Actually, in the brackets, if it's on our way, we could go over here to view, and you can already see here this hide sidebar. So if I press this, then actually I have way more space to work with. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth. Sometimes I'm going to open up that menu, sometimes I'm going to close it. It's going to depend on the situation, but I'm just letting you know that you have this option. You don't need to use that toggle menu if you don't want to. And there's actually a shortcut for actually getting rid of that menu. And in the Mac, it would be Command Shift and H. And you can see how if I'm pressing Command Shift H, is basically I'm getting rid of the menu is showing up, again I'm getting rid of the menu, and you get the idea. So let's just get rid of this menu for now, and let's jump to our body where we'll be doing all our work. If I want to make a heading in HTML, I would need to make a heading element, of course. So the way I would do that, I would start with an opening tag, and I would write over here H, and now in this case I'm going to write H1. And you can see that right away brackets gives me the closing bracket for me. So in here I'm going to say hello world. And I am heading 1. Okay. So now we can see that hello world, I'm heading 1. And let me just copy this. And is it 6? Yeah, it is 6. So over here we're going to change it a little bit. And I'm going to say that this is going to be heading 2. So we can see the difference, and I'm going to write away here 2. So over here I'm going to write 3, and the same thing over here. And you can see how they're getting smaller and smaller, because by definition the H1 or the heading 1 is going to be the largest, and of course H6 or heading 6 is going to be the smallest. So I keep on going, and I'm creating this one is H4, and this is going to be H5. And I'll have to change around actually inside the heading over here. So let's create H6, and here I'm going to write H3, H4, H5, and H6. And now we can see how clearly what is the difference, that we have a heading 1 is the biggest, then heading 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So obviously, if you want something to stand out on your page, let's say a title or something, you would need to use heading 1. But if it's not that relevant, you would have to use heading 6, so let's say, right? So I'm just gonna make this bigger so you can see the difference. And you can see over here how we have all the headings over here in a bigger page. So again, I'm just gonna make it smaller. And that's another option what we can do with live preview. We can basically keep working with this page, making it smaller and bigger. This is gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. What is going on, guys? And welcome to HTML and brackets tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about how to add images to our web page, because let's face it, a web page without an image, or images for this matter, would actually suck. So the first thing what we need to do is actually to get an image. So over here, I'm just going to expand this live preview, and I'm going to open the new tab, and over here I'm going to find in Google a image. So let's say funny images or pictures, funny pictures, right over here. And I'm just going to click on images over here. And now I have these options, right? So we can have Mr. Bean, or we can have a baby, or let's do Kevin Hart over here. So what I would need to do is right click it over here. And then I have over here same image as, right? So I click it over here. And it's going to be the same for the Mac and PC. So what we need to do right now is we need to actually select our folder that we created, HTML. You can see over here that I have my index file, and save this image there. So I'm going to call it, I don't know, funny, right? Funny. And I'm going to save it over here. And now you can see that I have saved my image. So let's go back. I'm going to minimize this, and I can close this out for now. So let's open up our toggle menu, and let's see what happens. And now you can see that right now I copied this image and I named it funny, and I have it actually in my folder. And that's a nice thing about brackets. It's right away you can see that it shows you the preview of what is the picture, and it actually tells you the size. You see there's 225 and 225. So let's jump back to index, and now let's add this image to our actual file. And if we want to add an image in HTML, we would need to create a image element. And we would write to have tags. So I'm going to write image over here, and I'm going to press enter. And the difference between an image and, let's say, a heading tag would be that image doesn't have a closing and opening tag. However, what image does is image tag has an attribute. And attributes are basically explanations about the tags. So in this case, the explanation would be a source. And what it explains to the browser, it tells, hey, listen, yes, I want to add an image, but I'm actually telling where that image is located. And you can see over here what brackets does. The nice thing about brackets is right away it tells you what kind of file you would want to add. Now, because this is an image, obviously we want to add this funny JPEG. But however, if we would have, let's say, 10 images, it would also display them all. So we don't want to add this index for now. But let's say further, as you're learning, let's say CSS, you would know that if you want to add, let's say, a CSS file, you would be able to also do that. So we just click over here, funny JPEG. And now you can see that we have our image to our page right here. You can see Kevin Hart is staring at us. And again, the syntax would be that we would have to write a tags. And inside the tags, we would write image over here. And then we would need to include the attribute source. And the source is telling us where that image is located. Now, another nice thing about brackets is that, as you can see over here, it actually gives you a quick preview of what that image looks like. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it does help you if you're working with large files, right? So, congratulations, we actually have our first image. Now, I want to show you another thing, how we can actually add images externally. So let's say I wouldn't save this image. I don't want this to be, let's say, sitting in my computer. I don't want it here. I actually just want to create an image from the web, right? So what we would need to do over here is I'm just going to delete this. So the source would be empty. And let's go back over here. And now we have Google. So again, let's look for the images, and I'm gonna write funny pictures. And I'm gonna say images. And let's say if I choose this one, this picture over here, right? So I just right click it. But the difference is I don't want to use the save image as. I actually want to use, what I want to do is I want to copy image's address. So let's just click this over here. And again, we can just close this one out. Now we for sure don't need it. And we go back to image source. And what we would need to do is in this attribute source, we would have to actually paste this address over here. So paste this, and you can see that I have the image that I wanted. So this is your other option. If you don't want to save this file over here on your computer, you can actually just copy and paste the address where the image is located, and you can get the image that way too. The problem of copying and pasting the address of the image is that sometimes those addresses are very, very long. So you don't want, sometimes it's much more easier if you just have the file over here, and it's always the length of this source is always going to be JPEG, because you can see already right away this source was longer because the actual address. And again, another nice thing is that brackets gives you a preview, so you can see that when your boss asks you how you're doing halfway through your shift, right? And again, we can just make it a little bit bigger so we can see how our web page would look. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. Now that we have actually created our first attribute, I think it's a good time to see what would be the best way actually to work with the brackets regarding the HTML elements and actually regarding the attributes for HTML element. Now, if we notice that actually once we create this left angle bracket, you can see that I have this list. And as I'm scrolling down the list up and down, you can actually see that I have some options. Well, these options actually are the HTML elements that I can add just by clicking on them. So you can see that we have covered, let's say, headings. So if I would click over here, I would add a heading right away, right? And there was many more. Unfortunately, what's happening is that it's not all of them. So you can see it goes down all the way to H. But let's say if I would want to add an image, you can see that as I'm pressing I, it actually gives me another option, another set of options. And these are all the elements that start with I. So let's say if I wanted to, if I would open up a bracket, I can just press the letter that I would want. So let's say G, but there's no element with G, there's no element with D. But let's say if I would press with I, and over here I would just press with I would have the chance of image, even though it's not showing up in the beginning. Once I open up over here, you can see that I have no option of I. However, if I just don't remember the full name of an element, I just remember, let's say, the first letter that it started with, I can always do it this way. I can just press the first letter, and it would give me the options that I have. So in this case, it's going to be the image that we covered in the last video. Now here's another deal, how to deal with attributes. So let's say you can see that it created an image for me, but you can see that it didn't finish creating everything, right? So if I just press space right now, you can see that I have another list coming up. And this is actually all the list of the attributes available for me. Again, these attributes for now we're not going to know, only the alternative right now over here we have. So this would be the text if the image is not showing. But let me just again delete that. And we can see over here again, if I press image over here and I go up, and now if I press space, it gives me all the options of a attribute. Now here's the deal. If I don't have, if I don't have in my list, let's say over here source, right? But again, if I just press S, you can see that it gives me an option of what type of attribute I would want to add. So let's say I'm gonna have source, and right away gives me where obviously my image would be located. So again, I can just press images, and then I keep going, and it gives me the funny or Putin or two types of T's, right? Now here's the deal though. If let's say that if you're starting to type something, right? And you can see that now it's not giving me any options because I have been using the delete button. What I can always do is, if I'm in this case, but I still want these quick hints over here, well, sorry. If I still want to use those quick hints over here, I can just press Control and space, and you can see right away it comes back, the hints come back. So if I do that, it actually gives me right away back my options, even though I use the delete. So if you ever wonder how to get back, you don't need to delete your whole bracket just to get these code hints back. You can actually just press Control space and you get them back. So again, I'm just going to use the image over here, but you know what? No, I'm just going to use the heading, let's say, right? Now, here's another deal that if I press space again, I get my attributes, right? However, if some attributes are not going to be associated with all the elements that you can use. Let's say some attributes we're going to be able to use with all the elements. Some of them unfortunately we're not going to be able to use with all elements because that's just by design. So let's say that when we were dealing with the source is actually designed for the image. So as I'm even as I'm pressing S over here, it doesn't give me the option of source element because the attribute is not associated with a heading element over here. It's actually associated with a image element. Now that we have covered the headings and the attributes in brackets, I just want to show you something really cool, which is brackets extensions. And brackets extensions are like plugins that actually help to actually make it more personable, the brackets text editor, right? So what we can do is we can go to File over here, and we have an option of going to Extension Manager over here, or we have an option of going here with this little icon. So I'm just going to press the brackets extensions over here, and sometimes it takes some longer time to load it. But you can see that over here I have 3 icons. I have installed, I have themes, which is actually a background colors for the brackets, and I have the available extensions. So if I would go over here, I would click on this icon over here, and in the search box I would basically write what type of extension I would want. And actually I have a playlist for all the brackets extensions. Well, not for all the brackets extensions out there, but for a lot of brackets extensions. So if you want, you can go and check it out, that playlist, and you can get familiar with those brackets extensions. Now, getting back to what we would need to do over here, I would write over here HTML, let's say starter plate, right? So you can see over here, and if I go over here, I just download, right? So let me show you what would have happened if I would download it. You can see I go back to here, my installed, and I have HTML format, and I have HTML skeleton. You can see that I have an option of disable or remove if I would want, but I don't want to do that. Let's say that I have downloaded, and I just close it over here, and let's say that I'm just gonna delete this, the boilerplate that we were creating, I believe, in our second video or something like that. So you can see over here I have my HTML skeleton. So if I just press it over here, I have a couple of options. I have basic skeleton, I have the full width, and I have a couple of more other ones, the inline style sheet and external script. So I'm just going to press this basic HTML skeleton, and you can see that it adds right away everything that we were working on. We have the head over here, we have the body over here, we have the actual HTML wrapper. You can see that it's added a couple of more attributes that we haven't covered here yet with the meta characters and the viewports, so we don't need to worry about them for now as we're just starting to work here. But you can see how easy it is, that I don't need to actually create anything. I just press the plugin or press the button, and the brackets actually right away does that for me. And that's the case with the brackets extensions. That it actually, what they do is actually they make your life much more easier. And the same thing goes for, let's say, the view. Remember when we were covering the view, the themes over here, and this would be, let's say, the case where we have 2 options, brackets light and brackets dark. But if I would go here to the brackets extension manager, I have themes. So if I just press it over here, it just might be a little bit longer because for some reason sometimes the brackets extension manager decides that it's just going to be messing around like this, so I can just keep talking and talking. Well, now you see it did it. And over here you can see over here that what type of themes I have. Now for themes, I would suggest actually going and pressing more info, just so you can see what type of theme it is and everything, so you don't have to download it and then remove it. But let's say that in this case I just want to download, I don't know, Marcus Dark theme or something like that. So I just press more info, And you can see that I can read it, everything about it, and you can see what's happening, how it looks like and everything, all right? So I'm just gonna close it out for now, and I'm gonna go back to brackets, and I'm just gonna say, you know what, I'm just gonna install it. So now it's gonna take a little bit time for installing. Now it says install successful. We close over here, and then we go back to view, and this is our themes, and now we have Marcus Dart theme. So if I just press it over here, and you can see that it's done, and you can see the coloring and everything. So you can see that it has two ways of working with the brackets extensions. First, they provide us a quicker way to actually adding our code to wherever our document, and they also can make our appearance a little bit different on the document that we're working on, to actually kind of give us a little bit, I don't know, a different view and everything. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML and brackets tutorial. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about images, and more specifically a little bit more about attributes that image element would have. So let's say that I have over here, I have this attribute called source, which pretty much tells where the image is located, right? However, we can use a couple of more attributes for the image element. And the first one would be alt, and that would work in a case, let's say that our browser cannot find our image, right? So over here, I'm going to create a equal sign and then double quotation marks, and I'm going to write Kevin Hart. So let's open up the toggle menu, and you can see that the name of my image is funny JPEG, right? So what if I would over here, I would mess around with this JPEG, and let's say I would delete this JPEG. So you can see right now that the browser can't find it because I deleted the whole extension. However, you can see over here that I still have Kevin Hart, which is I wrote over here in alternative. So you can see that over here I'm using this attribute alt in order, just in case if there's something wrong with my image or the browser cannot find it. So let's say as I go back to normal JPEG, you can see that I have back Kevin Hart's picture, right? Now let's talk about two more attributes that we can add to our image element. The first one would be width, and the second one would be height. And pretty much they're straightforward. If you're typing the width, let's say to be 400, you can see that my picture got way more bigger. If I would write over here the width to be 100, then it would be really small. And 100 stands for 100 pixels. And over here I could write also height, and I could say that height would be 400, and you can see how that is changing. Or I could write over here, I don't know, 100. So then it would be the same box, it would just be smaller. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML and brackets tutorial. Now in this video, we're going to look at how we can use attributes, width and a height, to manipulate two images so they would appear side by side. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to copy this image. So now I have two images. However, when I have the source over here, I'm going to write Putin JPEG because that's another image that I have downloaded, right? So you can see right away how it appears over here. And obviously here in the alternative, I would need to write something that has to do with this image. So I'm going to write Vladimir. Okay, so now I have two images. One of them is Putin, the other one is Kevin Hart. However, you can see that Putin is bigger, right? It's by default because you can see over here when I downloaded it, it's 195, 258, and Kevin Hart is 225 and 225. Now, if I want both of those images to be the same, what I can do over here, I can write width for Vladimir over here, and I can say 255, and I can also say height over here. And height is also I'm gonna make 225, right? So we just need to make this a little bit bigger, and now we can see how they both nicely side by side. None of them is bigger, none of them is smaller. They're exactly the same. And obviously we could have set, let's say, some kind of default size that we want. We could set Kevin Hart, let's say, to 250, and to do the same thing over here with Vladimir. So at the end of the day, they both would be equal. So if you want to add two images or 3 or 4 or 5 and you want them to all be the same, this is what you can do. You can just use the attributes width and height, and you can manipulate your images so they would all appear the same. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML in brackets tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about directory structure and how it actually helps us to manage our files. So let's say that over here I have, right now you can see that I have 2 images, right? But let's say I'm going to be building a website that has, like, I don't know, hundreds or 3,000 images, right? And you don't want them to be all clogged up in a space. You don't want your workspace to be basically hundreds and hundreds of files. So common practice actually is, if let's say that you're creating you want images to your page, you create a folder within your folder that you're working in, the HTML folder in this case. We actually create a new folder which would be images, and let's say we would have another folder for videos and so long and so forth, right? So what we would do is basically we would make our workspace neater, where all the files that are relating to images would be in one space, and all the files that would relate to videos or, I don't know, music would be in other folders. So you can see over here what that brackets allows me to do. I can click over here, new folder, and I created a folder image. The problem with brackets though is that I cannot move these files over here. It's not like I would be sitting in the Mac and I can move them here. So without installing the extension, you're not going to be able to do that. So what we need to do is we need to go back to our computer over here. And what I would do is would move these files over here. So the funny and Vladimir would be over here. So now you can see that I have this folder images, and it actually has 2 images over here. Now, why it's a big deal, right? So let's say that I'm going to delete this right now, and I would want to add an image to my page. So I'd write image, and then I would write source, because I know that I would need to add the attribute source. But here's the deal now. You can see that I don't have this option anymore where it's telling me right away which image I should pick, whether it's funny or whether it's Putin, right? What it tells me is that I have this file, the one that I have in my folder, which would be index.html, and I have a folder that is images. So if it would be images, I would have to click images over here, and only then it tells me which file would I want. Well, let's say in this case I want Putin over here, right? And then I close, and now I have the image. And why I'm telling you this is let's say that you're going to create another folder within the images folder, right? Or that you're trying to access some file outside your folder over here. The way you would have to do that, you would have to write a folder name, and only then you're writing a file name. So it's basically like a path. Instead of going directly when our file was located in our folder, we didn't need to write this /, right? We just write a file name, and that's it. We found it right away. However, if we're working with the folders, we would have to write a folder, and then in this case, brackets is going to give us the file name, but then you would have to write a file name if you're not using the brackets. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What's going on, guys, and welcome to HTML in brackets tutorial. Now in this video, we're going to look how we can add text that would be related to this picture. So let's say I want to explain this picture, but I want that text right underneath the picture, right? So I would need to create a figure captioning, right? So the way we create a figure captioning, we would have to create a figure image first. And you can see over here, it's figure. And now the brackets is going to create right away a closing tag. And we would need to place this image over here. I'm just going to cut and paste over here within the figure element. So I go over here just to see more clearer. So now I can see that I have figure element, and within that figure element, I have actually image sitting here, right? So then if I want to add a captioning, I would write over here a figure captioning element. And again, I would have a brackets would do the closing and opening tags for me. And over here, whatever I would write, let's say I would write Kevin Hart is the best. That you can see over here how it is writing right underneath the picture. and this is a fig captioning. So if you ever have an image and you want to add some type of text right underneath your picture, you would need to create a figure element over here. You would need to place your image right inside of it, and then right beneath it you would need to create a fig captioning element, and whatever text you're writing in between the fig captioning tags, that would be appearing right underneath the picture. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. Now in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to add text to our website, right? So we learned how to create a heading, how to create a image, and now we would want to add some text to the web page, right? So we just go right ahead and we say hello world. And then I want to create a new line, and I say it's me, Johnny, right? But I can see over here that, let's say that I want to create a little bit more space, and I'd say I'm always happy, right? But here's the deal. Now we're going to our live preview, and we can see over here that, first of all, there is no new line over here. It's all in one line. And it's actually, there is not the spaces that I added over here too. And the reason for that is actually that HTML is white space collapsing. And what it means is that it looks at this and it's all one big code for HTML. If you can add 10,000 of these spaces over here, and I can create over here like 10 new lines, and it's still going to read the same thing as one big chunk of code. And that's where the paragraphs come in. And paragraphs are basically help you to display your text on a web page, right? So in order to create a paragraph, I would need to create a paragraph tags. And the way I do that, obviously I create a opening tag over here. And again, brackets gives me a nice option. In paragraph element would stand for P over here. So I just press over here and close this opening tag. And now I have opening and closing tag of paragraph element, right? So now I can go ahead and just start typing what I would want. So let's say again, hello world. And if I would want to create, let's say, a new line, one of the options, I could just create another paragraph. So what I'm going to do is over here, I'm just going to copy this 2 times so we can see it better. Hello world. And over here, I'm going to say it's me, Johnny. And over here, I'm going to say that, let's say I'm still always happy. Always happy. So now we can see, not happy, but happy. So now we can see that we have 3 paragraphs, and you can see what happens. That once the HTML, once the browser is reading, you can see that it's a new paragraph. So right away it creates a new line, and it's the same thing with all of them. And if I would want, let's say, create more space over here, and let's say right over here still something, you can still see that the same thing is happening. It looks at this and it says, hey, listen, this is one paragraph. Whatever I'm adding lines in between over here or spaces, I'm still gonna treat it white space collapsing, meaning I'm still gonna put it like here in one line. So if I would want to create a new line, I would have to create a paragraph. Now, there's a couple of more tags that actually would help us to create a new line. And one of the tags is going to be a break tag, right? So let's say I'm always happy, but I want to put this mumbo jumbo gibberish over here, right? And I would want to create a new line. So what I would do over here is I would create a break. And the way you create break is over here, you write break over here like this. And you would have to create a closing like this. And now you can see that I right away have a new line. And you can see that it's the same as an image tag, where actually it's just a single tag. And these are called the empty tags. So you don't need to create a opening and a closing tag. It's right away, this break tag would give you a new line. And you don't need to create 2 tags for that. And what you can also do is, right now we created that break tag within the paragraph element over here. But let's say that I would want to create more space in between the 2 paragraphs. Again, I could just create these break tags. In this case, I'm just going to copy this so you can see how my text is moving as I'm adding these break tags. Now, there's also an element for the space. Like let's say if I want to just create a white space, but I'm not going to cover it right now because we're going to cover it once we're covering actual HTML special characters. So just wait for it. There's going to be a video about it, and I will tell you everything about it. Now there's one more interesting tag that we could create. So let's say that right now I have 2 breaks over here, and I'm just going to leave it like this. However, I would want to make, let's say, well, out of the blue, I would want to make a horizontal line, right? So I could write over here like this, and you can see again, brackets is right away suggesting me what kind of element you want. Well, I want HR, so I just press here enter, and I close it over here, and you can see that I would need to add this / over here, and you can see over here how I have a horizontal line over here. So if you want, let's say, to add a bunch of horizontal lines in your text, like let's say right in between these paragraph tags over here. So I'm just gonna copy this. I'm gonna start over here and I'm gonna paste it. And now we have 2 of them. And let's say if I would want to add some more, I could always add more. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial and brackets. In this video, we're just going to recap the things that we learned, because I always think that as you're studying something, you don't want to go too far ahead before remembering the stuff that you covered. Otherwise, you're just going to keep forgetting everything, and we're going to have to come back anyway. So the first thing that we covered, that if we want to create a title in HTML, we would have to create a heading element. And we have 6 choices. We have heading 1 to heading 6, and obviously the heading 1 would be the biggest. So over here, I'm just going to write heading, and I'm going to say that I am the title, right? And over here, I just have to be more careful. I am the title. Okay, so I have title. Now, underneath here, let's create a heading over 6. And I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to say I am smaller title. And you know what? I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so it looks a little bit better. So I have I am title and I am smaller title. So we have 2 headings. One is the biggest and one is the smallest. The next thing what we covered was that if we want to create an image, we would have to create an image element. However, with the image element, we would have to start using attributes. And in this case, it's going to be source attribute. And this would tell us where the image is located. And then we covered that if we create a folder over here, we would have to actually specify which folder we want. So in this case, it's going to be images. And then we have 2 choices. But because we want to stick with something funny, we're just going to go with Kevin Hart over here. And so now we have added a image to our page, and now we have 2 titles, one smaller, one bigger, and the image. But also we covered that images have possible more attributes, and let's say we could have changed the width over here, and we could say, I don't know, 300 over here, or we could say 100, and the same would be for the height. And then we covered that there's also a alt attribute that would basically be responsible if the image is not showing, then the text would be showing. So in this case, Kevin Hart would be displayed if the image is, for example, you cannot download image. So let's say if I would delete this, you would have over here alt, and it would be Kevin Hart, right? And the last thing that we covered so far was the fact that if we want to add text, we would have to create a paragraph over here. And in this case, I'm just going to say, this is website about Kevin Hart, or this website, not this is website. So this website is about Kevin Hart, and we covered that HTML is white space collapsing. So if I would be creating over here any type of new lines, it would just still read as one big code. So if I would want to create a line break, I would create a break tag like this. And then my text is showing over here in new line. And if I could do the same thing. I could just copy this one over here. And if I would want to create a new lines in between some paragraphs, I could still do the same thing. I can just paste this, and then I could copy some more times, and you can see that I'm creating more spaces in between the paragraphs. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. Now, in this video, we're actually going to start doing our first website project. And when I say first, actually, this is going to be the first video on the website project, because basically we're going to be implementing all the things that we have learned, and we're just going to start creating something that actually reflects of what we have been doing. So let's say I'm going to go over here on the left hand side on a toggle menu, and I'm going to say that I want to create a new file, and I'm just going to call it website HTML. So this is going to be our website HTML. And then I'm going to use the fact that we know how to work with HTML skeleton, and I'm just going to say that I want to create a basic HTML skeleton, and I'm just going to get rid of this. I mean, don't worry about this English language. I'm just going to add this over here, but we're going to get rid of this meta tags over here. We don't worry about them right now. And in the title, I'm just going to say this is our, I don't know, first, or let's just say first website, right? Make it less complicated. First website over here. And let's just make it a little bit bigger. And let's say that I want to create a website all about the tea, right? So what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to say that I want to go to Google, and I'm just going to say tea, and I'm just going to press it over here. And then I'm just going to go for images that would have the T. And I'm just going to, again, make it, I guess, a little bit bigger. And let's go for some generic images. So I'm just going to say save image as, and I'm going to say that I want to save image as in images. And you can see that actually I downloaded a couple already. So I'm just going to say that this is going to be T number 2, because you can see that I have T and T number 1. So I'm just going to generically say need T number 2. So now I have 3 images on T. Technically, I just downloaded one right now, but you get the point. And the next thing that I would want to do is, let's say that I would want to actually create a, sorry, I would want to stay in Google, but I would write over here Wikipedia. And we're just going to find out our information about T. So I'm just going to go to Wikipedia, and I'm going to press it over here. And I'm going to say that I want a T. I want to find out everything about T. So now we have T. And let's just do this. Let's just copy these 3 paragraphs, so it kind of gives us a sometime the starting point to our website. So I'm just going to close it out over here. And I'm just going to go back over here. And we're just going to start here by pasting everything. And you can see that it's a lot of paragraphs. But let's say that we're just going to put it in a paragraph section like this. And I'm going to just cut this over here and paste it over here for now. And now you can see that we have our first paragraph. But obviously on the top, what we would want to do is we would actually want to create, let's say, well, what should we do first? Should we do the heading first, or should we do the image? I think we should do the image. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say image over here. And I'm going to say that I want source. And you can see that bracket is offering me code hints. And I'm going to go to images. And let's say that, I don't know, this is going to be the best one, right? So I'm just going to say that this is 320. So let's say that I'm going to make it width. I'm going to say that make it width, I don't know, like 600 pixels. And the height is going to be, I'm going to make it 100 pixels over here. And then I'm going to close it out. And you can see that it's going to be a little bit, well, not a little bit, it's actually going to be a lot stretched out and messy, but still it's better than nothing, right? So we have our first image, which is going to serve as our banner. Then the next thing, what we know is how to create a heading. And we're going to say this is, I don't know, all about T. This is all about T. T over here. And here we're going to create a first paragraph. But on the beginning of the next paragraph, let's say before we just create these paragraph tags, I'm just going to write it like this generically again. But I'm going to add a couple of images over here. So cut over here. And I'm going to have the paragraph over here. But in between them, I'm just going to add another image. And I'm going to say that image over here is going to be source. And again, image is going to be, now it's going to be T number 1. And again, the width is going to be 600, the same. but the height, probably, let's like make that, I don't know, like 75, so it's a little bit smaller. So over here we close it out, and yes, of course, well, now it looks pretty bad, so let's make it a little bit better. So let's make it like, I don't know, 100 at least. Well, still bad. You know what, let's try how it is in general, how the actual image looks like. I think the actual image, the way it actually looks better, right? So you can see that it's all about T. Now I have this image, and this is, I think, where the T originated in. And let's just create one more image. Let's add one more image, but I'm just gonna add these paragraph tags because obviously that's what we want. So just cut this over here, paste, and then the last one, again, I would create a paragraph. And one more thing, just cut it, paste it, and now we have it. So now we have what? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, and we actually have one more image that we could use. So we go over here, and we see that it's T number 2. So let's say we're gonna go over here with this image, and we're gonna say that again in between we want add image and source, and the source is gonna be T number 2. And let's say again, let's just leave the generic one, whatever it gives us, whatever we have downloaded, because it's gonna look better than we have, right? Yeah, it's pretty decent. So you can see that pretty easily we created our first website for whatever we were learning from all these videos. So this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial and brackets. In this video, we're going to talk about subscript and subscript elements in HTML. So let's create a paragraph, and over here I create a paragraph tags, and over here I'm going to write on the 5th of, let's say, December. We will learn about CO2 in the atmosphere, right? Right here, like this. On the 5th of December, we will learn about CO2 in atmosphere. But let's say that I would want to create this TH and this CO2 be written like it's supposed to, right? So over here, I'm going to create a subscript, and that would be like this, sub over here. And I'm going to close it out. And now I'll have to just paste this over here, cut this out, and paste it here. And now you can see that I have over here, the TH is actually on top of 5, right? And the same thing would happen over here, that I would just create the opposite. I would create a sub, and then I would just take this, cut this out, paste it over here, and now I have CO2 in atmosphere. So you can see that it's two very easy elements that help you basically to work with your text. One by adding the element on the top, and one by adding the element in the bottom of the script. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial and brackets. In this video, we're going to cover how to work with text in our paragraphs. So let's say that I'm going to create a paragraph over here, and I'm going to actually create them with small p's, but it actually gives us this good example that if I would want to create these paragraphs over here, these tags, I could actually create them with a big letters. However, it's just a common practice that we're adding all the elements within our tags with the small ones. So I could have written this with the large cap, but I'm writing this with the small cap because it's a common practice. So over here I have a paragraph, right? So I have an opening tag and a closing tag. So over here I'm gonna write I am, and I'm just gonna leave this blank for now, and I'm gonna copy this, let's say 4 times, right? And then over here I'm gonna write I am, and I'm gonna write this tag over here, and you'll see what it does in a second. And I'm gonna say italic text, right? And we can right away, if we go over here and we just zoom in, we can see that this text is italic, right? So let me show you another way how we can do that. Let's say I would create a tag which is B, which stands for bold. And you already guessed it probably that I would write over here bold text. And I would go to paragraph number 3, and over here I would write a EM element. And EM element, you'll see what it does. Italic. Well, I'm gonna write I am EM element. And EM would stand for emphasis. And over here I'm gonna write strong. And again, I'm gonna write here I am, let's say strong element. Okay. And you can see that I actually misspelled over here. I didn't say put strong. So right away, as I'm correcting over here, strong, you see the brackets is telling me, hey, listen, buddy, your closing tags actually doesn't match the beginning tag. So if I add over here strong, and now I have strong element added to my page. Now, you're right away going to tell me then, well, what is the difference? I mean, visually, they're both the same, right? Well, visually, there is no difference, right? You can see that this is, let's say, an italic text, and the same with EM element, emphasis element, it would be the same thing, and the same with bold and strong. However, with text-to-speech programs, there's a difference how they read it. Let's say if they're reading over here just this bold, they would actually ignore it because this is just styling. However, with the strong element, they're actually put a stronger emphasis as they're reading out this element. So it actually serves really well for those programs. Therefore, it's actually the common practice is just use emphasis and strong instead of italic and bold. I'm just showing you so you would, whenever you come across the italic or bold, so you wouldn't be confused and you wouldn't think, well, what is this element? But common practice is that we're using emphasis and strong elements in order to get both style and the actual purpose of those elements. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to look at how we can create abbreviations in HTML. So let's say that we have a paragraph over here, right? And the paragraph says professor on HTML, right? And let's just make it a big cap. And now I have professor on HTML. But let's say that I would want this to be actually prof over here like this, but I would want that as the user is hovering over the mouse, he can actually see the long word, right? And for that one, we would have to use the abbreviation element over here like this. And now we would have to place this prof, just cut it and paste it over here. And now we have it within the abbreviation element. However, you can see that nothing is changing. I mean, I placed it over here, but as I'm hovering, I cannot see the long word, right? So here the attribute title would come to help, and it works as a tooltip, right? And over here we would have to write what we would want to be displayed. So in this case, I'm just going to write the long word over here, professor. And now let me just refresh the page. And now you can see as I'm hovering over it, you can see that I have a little tooltip that says professor. Now I could have written anything over here. I could say is the best ever. And again, I'm just going to refresh the page for this purpose. And you can see that professor is the best. The title attribute is not unique just to abbreviation, right? So let's just delete this over here. And let's say that I have a paragraph that just says I am the best, right? I could still do the same thing over here. I could just write over here a attribute title, and I could say that this is the best paragraph ever, right? So again, I would have to refresh in this case, and you can see that I have a tooltip that this is the best paragraph ever. So again, just a quick recap. If we wanted the abbreviation, we would have to place the text in the abbreviation element or in abbreviation tags. And then we would have to use the attribute title, which is the attribute that we can use on any element that we would want. But in that case, we would use an abbreviation element, and we would have the abbreviation in HTML. this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next one. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. And in this video, we're going to look at how we can work with block quote element in HTML. So let's say that I have a paragraph over here, and the paragraph would say that I am the smartest guy ever. And the next paragraph, what I'm going to create, I'm going to say that over here, let's create a paragraph. And here I'm going to say, said by everyone I know, right? Because we all actually know people, well, everyone we pretty much know usually says that they are the smartest, right? So but what if I would want to put it as a quote, right? The way I could do that, I could create a block quote over here, block quote element. Let me just delete this, but I have block quote over here, and again brackets is creating for me right away the closing one. And what I would do right now is I would place that element within my block quote. So I'm just going to cut this, paste it over here, and now you can see that I have my paragraph nested in a block quote element, right? And we can right away on the right side we can see that how the paragraph shifted, right? So it looks like a quote right now. So if I'd want to say add something else, right? So I'm the smartest guy ever, and I always will be, ever and ever, and I can just keep going and going. You can see how the quote is being created, so that I'm writing a text and it's being indented like this, so it looks like a quote. And over here, I can just say, said by, I don't know, Bobby, right? So I have said by Bobby, or I could just write his name or whatever. So this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to talk about 3 more elements that actually help us to work with our text. So let's say in the bottom of my web page that I'm going to create, I would want to add my contact information, right? So I could add something like this over here, and then I would write, I don't know, jco@hotmail.com, and then let's say I'm going to create another paragraph over here, and in this paragraph I'm just going to say that my address, let's say it's going to be 6000 West Montrose, Chicago, Illinois, and let's do this one like that, and then I don't know, 60743, something like this, right? That's my zip code. But we have a address element that actually allows us to format a little bit nicer, right? So we type over here the element, and the element we want to use is address, and I close it out over here. And what I would want to do is take these 2 paragraphs over here, and then I would cut them, and then I would paste them over here. But the problem is that you can see that I actually pasted right away a body element with it. So you can see that 2 things are happening. Live preview is right away telling me that I made a mistake, and it's on line 11, and it's also not displaying anything because there's something wrong. And that's the nice thing about brackets, is that it right away catches your mistakes, you know. Otherwise we would save this file, then we would go back to our file with the browser, and we would try to open the page, but we would have it blank, right? So that's the nice things about brackets, is that any mistake what you make in HTML, it right away catches, and it actually helps you to avoid it right away. So I'm just going to cut this out, and you can see that it is displaying right now. So I'm going to paste this back in here. And now we have my address over here written like this. And now I could use my inserted and deleted elements, right? So let's say that I would want to create something like a different street. Let's say that I'm living right now in different street, right? So what I could do is take this Montrose, cut it out, and put it in here. And you can see that right away it works as it's being crossed off, right? Or I could work that, let's say instead of Montrose, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be Cicero. So I can write Cicero. And in here, what I would do is I would put it in inserted element. So I would write ins over here. And then I'm going to cut this Cicero over here, cut it over here and paste it over here. So now you can see that it's underlined over here, the Cicero in Chicago. Now the thing is, you will be doing all of this once you're doing with CSS. I'm just showing you that if you are really one, you can start doing something with just HTML. However, all of these things we'll do with CSS. That's going to be the styling. However, HTML does provide some basic elements that actually help you work with the text. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. And this is going to be the second video in our series of web projects where we're pretty much using whatever we learned of creating our first project over here, our first website. I mean, it's very basic, it's very simple. However, it makes sense that we're using whatever we're learning, right? And the first thing that we're going to be covering today is actually text elements over here, and the elements that actually are applied to the text. But before we do that, actually, I just want to show you over here that I added some things to attributes in an image. Let's say the width. You can see that I made it in percentages, which we didn't cover it yet. But however, I'm just telling you that you can do that, and you can see what's happening is that as I'm working with a screen right now, it's actually, as I'm expanding or contracting, it's actually the image is moving along with the screen. And I also added these attributes over here, alternative attributes, which would be in the case if the browser cannot find the image, right? So the first thing that we're going to add is actually going to be a block quote element, because I want to create a quote over here. And I already found the quote, so the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste it over here. And you can see the quote by Abraham Lincoln about tea, right? So what I want to do over here also is actually, I'm just going to take this right now and I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to place that within a paragraph and also within a EM element right here like this. So all I'm going to do right here, I'm just going to paste it. And now we have a Abraham Lincoln, which is in a paragraph and also emphasized. And we also going to add over here a strong, and we're going to place the whole like the beginning part of a quote, sorry, the whole quote actually. We're just going to place it in a strong. So now I can see that how my quote is in bold right now, and it's also emphasized. And the last thing that I'm just going to do is I'm just going to mess around with this sup and sub elements that we learned. So let's say over here, if I would just create sup over here like this, and I'm just going to, I don't know, let's say put this word bring in here. I mean, it doesn't make much sense, but something that just so we can work with it. So please bring me coffee, please bring me whatever tea, some tea over here. I'm just going to put it in a sub element. So I'm just going to copy this, I'm going to cut it out and cut and paste it over here. And now you can see that we have a pretty dumb website. However, we have used the stuff that we have learned. We have actually learned block quotes, and we have learned sup and sub and emphasis and strong. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to add links to our page. Now, there's going to be three types of links. There's going to be an external link, and there's going to be a link within our own page, and then there's going to be a link that's basically going to be working like a bookmark, right? Now we're going to start with an external link, and if we want to add a link, we should know by now that we need to create an element, and that element would be over here a link, and now whatever I'm going to be typing in between is going to work as a link, right? So I go over here and let's say I'm going to write Google. But as you can see that I'm pressing and nothing is happening, right? And the reason why nothing is happening is because we need to add an attribute to this link element. And the attribute is href over here. And you can see that it gives me right now the options if I would want to stay within the page, which I could go to index.html, which is the same file, or I can go to images, but we don't want to do that. We're going to do that in the next video. Also over here, we're going to write an external link. And between these quotation marks, what I need to write is the actual address where I want to go. So over here, I'm going to write HTTP, and then I'm going to put a colon over here, then 2 forward slashes, and I'm gonna write www.google.com. So as you can see, now we have added a link to our page, and we can just click it and we're gonna go to Google. However, one thing that I would want to do is, as you're creating a page, right, web page, you would want the people who are actually going maybe to a different website from your website, but you want them to come back. So you'd want this link to be actually opened in a new window, not just leaving your site and just going somewhere else and then probably maybe never coming back. So in order to do that, we would have to add another attribute, and that would be target over here. And the value for this target, we would have to write over here blank, right? So you can see over here that I have choices: blank, parent, self, top. Well, I want blank. So now when we click it over here on the Google, you can see that I have a new page. Okay, and it is Google, and I haven't been making this up. We have created a link. However, you can see that I still have my web page. So whoever is visiting your web page, they can check out whatever they want, but they will still gonna have to go back to your website because you have actually opened the link on a new page. This is gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. Now, in the last video, we created a first link on our webpage, and we created an external link. Now, in this video, we're going to create links that are actually stay within our own site, right? So it's going to be linking to the sites in our own webpage. So in order to do that, let's create another two links over here. So I'm just going to copy this, but over here, I'm going to write, let's say that the page that I want to visit, I'm going to say info, and over here, I'm going to say images, right? Now, since we're staying in the page, of course, we have to change the attribute href because we're not going to be anymore going to Google, right? So I go back over here, and over here, I'm going to write that I want to go to info page, and here I want to go to images page. However, you can see that in my folder, I don't have those web pages yet. So I would need to create two new files, and the first one is going to say info and info HTML. And the other one would be images, right? HTML. So I have both of them over here. Now let's go back to index. And as we go over here in index, you can see that I already created two links. However, I haven't described where they're going. So the first one, I would say that I want to go to info HTML, and the brackets is giving me these two options. So I just click the info HTML. And over here, I would write that I want images HTML. So over here, I have images HTML. Now, let's go to those web pages, though, and actually create some different material so we could actually see that I'm not just making this up. So I'm just going to copy this, and let's go first to info. And I'm going to paste it over here. But I'm just going to delete this over here, this Google. We don't want that. And over here, I'm going to write with H1 that with the first heading that I'm going to write, I am the info page. And here I'm going to write info as my title. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a link back to my index. So I'm going to write home. And over here, I'm going to write index HTML because that's where my main web page is located, right? And we're going to do the same thing over here with an images HTML. I'm going to copy this, and then we have over here, and then we paste it. And over here, I'm going to say images, and I'm going to say I am the images page. Images page, right? And I also could create a link to info, but I'm not going to do that. So now we have everything over here, so let's go back to index, right? So now we have two of them. We have info and we have images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save all of them over here, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this one. And just don't worry about that it's a double, it's just the thing with a live preview. So let's go over here to the index, right? That's the first one we have. So we have info, And as I click, you can see that I'm going to info page. The title is info and I'm in the info page, right? But as I click over here, I jump back to the index one, to my main one. So over here, I can create images and I'm the images page. So again, I visited the images page and then I click back and I'm going to the info page. Now, one more thing about the links. It doesn't really, I mean, you could have write here anything. I mean, you can write here monkey. It doesn't mean that, let's say that it needs to match. And it's the same thing over here with this Google address. As long as you have the address, the name of the link, you can create whatever. Again, you can create monkey. However, the monkey is actually going to the Google website. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how to create links that actually go to a specific part of the same page, right? So we have the page, but let's say that we have a long page. We have like a bunch of paragraphs, but we don't want the user to actually scroll all the way down because we just want to create a link that would write directly, would lead it to this paragraph over here in the bottom. And the way we do that is, let's say that I'm going to create 3 links over here. And I'm going to, I'm going to name them. Let's say first one is going to be monkey, because technically these paragraphs are about monkeys. And then the second one, I would probably say a location over here. So location, that's going to be the middle one, and the third one is going to be, I'm just going to copy this one over here, and the third one I'm going to name, I don't know, what do I have over here? Legs and tail, blah blah blah, Chinese zodiac. So I'm going to write this zodiac. Okay. So, and again, you could have named them whatever you want. The point is, you can see that I have 3 paragraphs. Technically, I have this paragraph that would end over here. Then I have this paragraph, and then I have this small one all the way in the bottom. And I created links that would go to those 3 paragraphs. Now, the same deal, I would have to write href over here, and I would put something in between the double quotes, right? The thing is, though, you need to somehow link it to these paragraphs, right? So if I want my first link to go to first paragraph, I would have to create something that my link would be linked to this paragraph. And the way you do that, you actually create an attribute ID. And again, you name it within the double quotes over here, quotation marks, I'm sorry. And over here, I'm going to write, let's say, again, any name that I would want, but I'm just going to write monkey here. Right, and over here, when I have href, which is the location where my link is going, I would have to push the hashtag and then the name of the link. I'm sorry, the name of ID. So what you're saying is, hey link, go to this ID, and this ID has a name monkey. So it says go to this ID that has a link monkey. Okay, and we do the same thing to the rest of them. So over here, I'm just gonna say location. So I'm going to create ID location, and I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to create an href, and then I'm going to say that I want a hashtag location. That's the ID that I want to go. So I have hashtag location, and the third one, I'm going to say that it's going to be zodiac, right? So I'm going to create ID, and I'm going to say that it's zodiac. So I have 3 IDs and I have 3 links. So over here, I go back href, and I'm going to say hashtag zodiac. Now, what we also can do is, let's say I'm going to create an h1 element all the way over here on top, but I'm just going to create a quick line break over here. So it's a little bit different. So let's say that I'm going to create a line break. Now I have a line break, and let's create an h1 element. The first heading, and this is going to say this is the top, right? And we're going to give this heading also an ID, and I'm going to say that this ID is top, and I'm going to go all the way in the bottom of my file of my website over here, and I'm going to create a h1 heading over here like this, and I'm going to say that it's the bottom. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna say end, and I'm gonna give an ID end. Okay. And now what I also can do is I can actually create a link that would go to the top right now. So I would create a link and I would say that it needs to go to top. And obviously, since the ID for the top is over here, then I would have to write over here an href. I would have to write the name. The name would have to be top, but I would have to put a hashtag over here. And if I want over here to create another link that is going to the bottom, then I would have to create a link over here. So let's say I'm gonna create a link that goes to bottom. So I'm gonna say href over here, and attribute is gonna be href, and I'm gonna say that it's the end, right? Because that was the name. That was the name of our ID over here. You see the ID end? That's where I want to go with this link. Okay, and I'm gonna say here end. So after all this talking, now we have 3 links. Well, actually 4, I think 5 links that are actually going around our web page, right? So let's test the first one. Let's click end, and you can see that I go all the way to the end. Now, for some reason, the top is not working, and let's check it out why. And you can see that I haven't added an href, right? It's href. So now that I fix this, I have actually href, and then when I click to the top, I go back to the top. So if I would want to, I can just jump back from top to bottom, right? And if I want to go more specifically, I go to the monkey paragraph. If I want the location, I go to the location paragraph. And I want the zodiac, I go over here to the zodiac paragraph. So this gives you an idea how you can actually create the links that actually serves the purpose of your user who is ever coming to your website not to scrolling up and down and looking for something. They right away quickly choose whatever paragraph or whatever part of your web page they would want to use or view, and they just click on it and they go right away there. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. Now there's one more thing that I want to tell you about the links, and that is that actually links can be clickable, but they can still like stay on your page, not go anywhere. And you can also use images as our links. So let's go ahead and create an anchor tag. And again, we would have to create an href attribute. However, as we're creating an href attribute, I'm actually going to place a hashtag within a quotes over here. And what happens is that link is going to be clickable, but it's really not going to do anything. So let's say I'm going to write over here, I am link. And you can see over here that I have a link. And I'm clicking and it's actually changing the color, but nothing is happening. So if I just want to make a dummy link, I can place a hashtag over here and it's going to stay here. It's going to act as a link, but it's not going to go anywhere. Now, one more thing is I want to show you that actually we could use images as our link. So let's say over here that I would write another anchor tag. And in this case, I'm just going to say that href is going to be, I don't know, let's say Google, right? So again, we had to HTTP and then a colon, and then we would write google.com over here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a target, and we're going to say the target is going to be blank over here. So it's going to open up in a new window, and we're going to close it out. However, inside here, we're just going to use the image, and we're going to have to use the attribute for the image is going to be source, and we're going to say which is telling us where the image is located. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to use the Vladimir Putin as our image. So since the image doesn't require double tags, we can just close it out like here. And now you can see what's happening, that our image is acting as a link. So as I press it over here, you can see that it opened up to Google, right? And I'm just going to make it bigger. So you can see that our Putin image is acting as a link. We can actually place the link over here within our page. And if we place it within the anchor tags, it's actually acting as a link. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML and brackets tutorial. Now, in this video, we're going to look at another link, well, the last one link actually that we're going to cover. And this is going to be direct email link, right? So you can create a link on your web page that would directly email you, right? However, I'm going to show you why it's not actually common practice to do that and what are the pitfalls, right? But we do the same thing. We create a link over here, and we do that by creating a opening and a closing tag. And I'm going to say, I don't know, email me, whatever, something like that, right? And then again, I would have to use the same href, which is just the difference is over here, I wouldn't have to use the HTTP. I would have to actually write mail to and put it over here like a colon over here like this. And then I would have to create a email address that I have. So let's say I'm going to say john@hotmail.com, right? Something like this. Now, here's the deal though. The problem is that as the user is gonna press this, he's actually gonna right away, you can see as he's pressing, you go to your default mail server that you have over here that you're using. So it's not like you can go to your Hotmail or your Gmail or whatever account. It's pretty much using whatever the computer has. And in most cases, people don't want to do that. They obviously want to use the mail that they're actually using, whether it's, again, Hotmail or Gmail or any mail that you can think of. So you wouldn't want to use this. You'd much rather you could actually just write what is your email, and then they can copy and paste that, and they can use their mail provider that they're actually using. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to learn how to add an unordered list to our web page. Now, here's the deal. The same thing as like with everything else before for like 16 videos and all that. In order, if we wanted to create some type of element, we would have to write a tags, right? And in this case, for unordered list, it would be UL tags. And I would close it out like this. And now I have an ordered list. But if I want to add a list items, I would need to create another tags over here like this. And they stand for list item, right? And you can see that I have right here a dot, and that would signal that I'm creating my first list. So I'm just going to create a home over here. And what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to paste them, right? So in here I have I'm going to create a news. And then I'm going to say that over here that I want contact. And over here, let's say I'm going to write about, right? Just like you would see in a normal website. So, and you can see the syntax. In order, if I want to create a unordered list, I would have to create UL tags like this. And then within those UL tags, I would have to sandwich these LI tags, and I can add as many as I want or as little as I want, right? I could have just had one home, but I added 4, so I got 4. So that's the syntax. Now, first question you would say is like, well, what's the big deal, right? Because that's exactly what I thought when I was studying the HTML. I was thinking, well, what is the big deal? Why would you need unordered list like this, right? Well, just by doing a little bit of design, which is we're not going to do it right now. We're not going to cover it in HTML. We're going to cover that in CSS. You could get something like this. And you have to admit that it looks much more better, right, than the one that we just created. However, the actual structure is still the same. In order to create this, right, this home news about all this menu, I would still have to do the same thing. So I cannot create a nice looking one over here without actually doing the hard work over here and creating this list. So that's for the lists are used, and that's why you are going to be using actually lists a lot. So practice it, get good at it, and please don't treat it like it's something unuseful. Now, another thing that I want to show you, that actually if we wanted to, over here we could create a anchor tags for our links, right? So we could create these list items over here as links. So I would have to do it over here, just cut it, paste it over here, and then let's say again this one is going to go to my info page, right? So I'm just going to create an href over here, and I'm going to say the info HTML, right? And you can see that it's going to work the same way, like the same way before. But what we have done over here, we have actually within the list items, right? We actually also added the anchor tags or the links. So whenever we press the list item, we're actually going to be going to our link whenever we specify it to go to. So as I press over here, and you can see that I'm going to the info page. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to look how to create an ordered list, not unordered like we created in the last video, but an actual ordered list that has the numbers in front of list items, right? And the way you do that, you actually again create a element, and that element is going to be ordered list. And you can see that tags are OL, that's the element name, and you do the same thing. You obviously add the list items, so it works the same way. The only difference is that the name of the element would be ordered list is OL, and for the unordered would be UL, right? So on the same deal, so we're creating, let's say I'm going to create 4 of them, and I'm going to say that the first one would be Bobby. And I'm just going to save this, and I can see over here I have Bobby, and then I would have Susie, and Susie has number 2, and then I have Ray, and then I would have like Lily, right? So I have 4 names, and you can see that they, as an ordered list, they have all numbers in front of them. And again, I could have added as many list items as I would wanted. In this case, I just chose 4. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to cover 2 more lists, and that would be a nested and definition list. And all the nested list would mean that, let's say that over here I have an ordered list right here, and if I would want to add, like, let's say some type of numbers to, let's say over here in Bobby, all I would have to do is actually create over here a ordered list, right? So I have here Bobby, and what I would do right now is I would create actually ordered list. So I do the same thing. I create list items. So let's say the first one would be, I would say that, I don't know, has a bag, right? Then I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna write over here, loves math, right? And then let's say the third one is going to be, I'm going to say, well, hates music. So you can see how easy it is. I can just basically pick whatever item I would want to add, let's say, on our list to my numbers, and it could be a recipe, it could be an instruction book, it could be anything, right? And all I would have to do is within this list item that I would want to add a unordered list, I would just create an ordered list right here, right? So I would just nest it in the list item element. So, and there's one more list that I would want to show you, and it's actually called definition list, and the element would be DL over here. And then we would have to create element DT, which stands for definition term. So let's say over here, again, I'm going to write Bobby, and right underneath, I'm going to create another element, and this one is going to be DD, and DD would stand for definition, right? So I have over here Bobby, and I would say again that Bobby has a backpack, and he loves math, and hates, I don't know, video games. Very unrealistic, but let's say video games. So now you can see what definition list would do. Basically, first we would have to display the definition list element, and then we have the definition term and actual definition. And of course, I could just go over here and copy this, and again create as many as I would want the definition terms, right? So I would have to actually copy this one over here, and let's say we're gonna paste it, right? So then instead of Bobby, I could write over here Susie, and let's say that she actually loves music. So we can write loves music, hates boys, right? Something like that. So you get an idea how we can create an actual definition list. This is going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to continue with our website project, and we're going to actually add a unordered list and actually links that we have learned to our website. So the first thing that I would want to do is actually I would want to create an external link over here that would go to Wikipedia website about the tea, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually I'm just going to create a link over here. I'm not going to do any href, nothing. And I'm also going to create over here a image, because I would want to use the fact that we learned about image, how we can actually use the image as our link, right? So over here, I'm just going to close it out, and I'm going to open this window a little bit more, and we're going to go actually to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia over here. And once it's loaded, we're going to search for tea. And once we have a T, you can see the first thing is I'm going to copy this picture over here. So I'm going to say that I want to save image as, because that's the image that I want to use. I'm just going to make sure that I'm actually sitting where I need to be. And actually I'm not. So let me just go back to desktop, and we're going to be in HTML, and I'm just going to save it over here. And the next thing that I'm just going to copy this little link over here, so we know exactly where we need to go with our link over here. So I'm just going to copy this, and I can close it down right over here. So now let's go all the way in the bottom, and the first thing that we need to do is actually create a link over here, and I'm going to say that my href is going to be this address that I just pasted. So you can see that now will be directly going to Wikipedia. And the attribute that I'm going to add over here to the link, I'm going to say that I want a target blank, because when we're working with brackets live preview, it's actually closing down the window if we're going from the live preview. So we would want to have a target blank over here. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to check what is the name of the image. And actually I can rename the image. I'm going to say that it's a wiki T, so it's a Wikipedia T, and over here my source is going to be images. That's the folder that I'm working with, and I'm looking for Wikipedia T, and then let's say that I'm going to create a width of that element to be like, I don't know, like 50 pixels or something like that. So let's go and check it out what we have. I'm actually going to make it bigger a little bit over here. And let's go all the way in the bottom, and we can see that we have this image that actually works as a link. So if I press it over here, you can see that it's opening up right away in the Wikipedia page. It's pretty cool, right? And then we can go back over here, and let's say that I'm going to write some paragraph over here. I'm just going to say that if you are interested learning about tea or something, I don't know, if you like what you see, follow the link, I don't know, to be impressed, right? To be, I don't know, amazed over here, something like that. It's probably misspelled, but anyway, doesn't matter. So let's go back over here, and you can see that if you want, if you like what you see, follow the link to be amazed over here. I can just press it, and we can actually go directly to Wikipedia. So the next thing that I would want to do is actually create a unordered list, and I would want to place that unordered list somewhere over here, where we're actually directly actually saying where the user should go, right? So I guess the best option would be doing something like on the top. So what I'm going to do is over here, I'm just going to, within the body, I'm going to create a unordered list, and within that unordered list, I'm just going to set a couple of list items over here, and the list items also going to serve as the links. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to create a href, and I'm just going to leave all these hrefs for now. I'm just going to leave them blank because we haven't created any, and I'm just going to do it to target blank again. Target is also going to be still blank, so you can see it's like this, and I'm just going to, let's say 4 now. I'm just going to create 4 links. Maybe I'm going to delete some. Maybe I'm going to open some. It's going to depend. But what I'm trying to do is actually I'm just going to create a couple of sites within our web page, actually a couple of pages where actually whoever is visiting our page can actually visit. Now, one thing that I still want to do that I actually just forgot, and I remember that I want to create one more link over here all the way in the bottom where it actually says a link, and the link is actually leading to ID that I'm just going to create, and that ID name is going to be a top over here like this, and over here I'm just going to close it out and I'm just going to say top. And what's going to happen that every time somebody scrolls down and if he wants to go up, he's going to be able to actually go to the top. And what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to create a line break like this. And now I have a line break, so now I can see that they're sitting separately. And actually maybe let's go ahead and copy this and let's paste it over here. So maybe let's create a little bit more space, right? So now you can see that this is technically all the way in the bottom, right? And over here, if we remember that when we were using this attribute href and we placed this hashtag with the top, that means that somewhere there's going to be a attribute ID, and in this case I'm going to put it all the way up here in the body. We can also do that, but it's because body is still an element. And over here I'm just going to say that this is ID top. And now let's check it out what happens. So if I go over here, press it over here, you can see that it brings me all the way to the top. So that's what we learned, how we can navigate within within this one site. So let's right now navigate through our whole web page. This is not going to be external links. This is going to be actually internal links. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a couple of sites over here. So I'm just going to minimize these images so they're not in your way. And the first thing that I'm going to say first, new file is going to be, let's say I'm going to call them articles, HTML. The next thing, and then you can see that right now it's blank, but we don't care about this. We're just going to go over here and we can close this index. We don't need that. And we have the website. So let's go back over here again. And now we can actually link it to this articles. So the first thing that I would write over here, I would say that this is the link to our articles page. But you can see that right now, of course, it's blank and there's nothing in there, but we can still set the href, and the href would be articles HTML. So now as I press it, we're going to be going to articles page. Now let's copy some of this, what we actually need. And we're going to be actually pasting that just so it's easier, so we don't need to do like a long setup or something. So let's go to articles, and I'm going to use the brackets extensions over here, and I'm going to right away just insert the basic skeleton. And if you're interested, I have a brackets extensions playlist, so if you want to check it out. But over here, what we're going to do is we're just going to get rid of this meta for now. We don't need that, and we're going to say that this is I don't know, articles page, right? And what we can do over here, we're just gonna paste this over here like this, not a line break. Let's jump back to websites. This is what we should be pasting, and now we have a web page that I would want to just copy this over here, and I'm just gonna paste this. So I'm just gonna copy this. Go to articles, paste it over here. So you can see what I'm trying to do is for all our pages within our website, I'm just going to pretty much make them the same setup, right? But what I'm going to do is over here, what I would need to do is actually I made it a little bit wrong over here. You can see that I have this one as first, the articles, but actually we should have made the home page as first. So let me go back over here to the website. And what we would need to do over here, we're going to just take this right now. And we're going to cut it and just press it down and paste it over here. And actually what we were going to do is this is going to be our home page, and the home page is going to have a location website HTML, right? Because that's where you see that's the file name, right? So now I have two of them, and I also would need to do it over here. I would need to do it over here in articles one, where I'm basically setting I'm just going to take this over here. Again, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over here. And now we have a target, and I'm just going to say that this is a website HTML. And now over here, I'm just gonna write that this is a homepage. So now let me just close it over here before I actually close the Wikipedia. Let's just go ahead and let's just copy some of the articles over here. So let's say I'm just gonna start with the origins and history, and what I'm gonna do is something like this, where I'm just gonna copy this and we're gonna create a couple of paragraphs from this. So copy this. Now I can close it over here, and now I'm sitting in articles page, and let me go to the HTML file of the articles page. Now you can see this is where I'm sitting in the body, and what I'm gonna do is over here I'm just gonna paste it, and let's just decide how many paragraphs we would want to do. So let's say first I'm gonna create this paragraph, and let me again just copy this over here, cut this. This is gonna be our first paragraph. This is gonna be the second. Over here I'm just gonna do another one, and over here I'm gonna cut this, and so technically we have 2 paragraphs, right? So paste it over here, and what we can do is actually we're gonna again create these 2 links over here underneath, but they all gonna be the links that are actually within the page, right? So what I can do over here, I'm just gonna create a let's say in this case we can just create a order list, so like this. So this is going to be our order list. We're going to be learning how to work again with order list. And over here I'm just going to say again list item, and again over here I'm just going to say that this is going to be anchor, and the href attribute is going to be, I'm going to call this ID number 1. And just for sake of it, I mean, usually you'd probably want something that's actually has something to do with this paragraph, but just for sake for now over here, and I'm just gonna say that this is the first paragraph over here, first para, and the next thing I'm just gonna do it over here, and I'm just gonna copy this, and here I'm gonna write 2, and this is second, right? Second. And now over here, only thing we have to do again the same as like we did over here with the website. Remember when we were actually creating this top ID, same thing we're gonna do over here. We're just gonna create ID, and we're gonna call it 1. I'm gonna say that this is 1, and over here we're gonna say that this is, let's say, 2. And just for the sake of it, because it is a longer page, let's create all the way in the bottom also another let's say a anchor tag that will lead to the top. So over here again I'm just going to create a anchor tag over here, and I'm going to say that this is top, and this is going to have ID again to the top. So href over here, and let's say it's going to be to the top, and again all the way in the top. Where's my body? I could just say that this is going to be a ID, and this is going to be a top ID. All right. So you can see that I have them right now blank because I haven't had anything over here. You can see that these 2 I haven't made because these are going to be our 2 more pages that we're going to be actually adding. So let's not worry about it right now. But what I want to show you is that, let's say right now we're sitting here, and when I press first paragraph, you can see it opens the first paragraph. Second paragraph, we're going all the way to second paragraph. When we're here, we go to the top, and if we go over here and click on homepage, you can see that it's opening the homepage, which is our T website. And then we go over here, this is our T website. And if we want to go to our articles page, again we just press it over here, and you can see that it's opening an articles page. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video we're going to create a table in our HTML file. So what we need to do is obviously get a table element, right? So the table element would be table over here like this, and you can see the brackets right away creates a double tag. So we know that table element has the opening and a closing tag, and then we keep moving forward, and within our table element we nest a table row, which is going to stand for each of our rows that we have. Let's say for now we just have 1, but we're going to create some more. And within that row, we have to create table data. And table data basically stands for columns. So let's say over here, if I can write over here Johnny, and let's say that I'm just gonna copy this, and over here I'm gonna write Susie, and I'm gonna copy this one too, and over here I'm gonna write Bobby, right? So you can see as I'm adding TD, the table data, that basically means a column, and all that is nested within the first row. So what I want to do over here, I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna copy this and paste it 2 more times, and you can see how I'm creating new table. So over here I'm just gonna put some random numbers. I'm just gonna say 10, and here I'm gonna write 15, and next one I guess I'm gonna write 20, and over here I don't know, I'm just gonna write math, music, and I don't know, pickles. Don't ask me why. I'm just randomly trying to create some kind of data, and it's obviously not written pickles, but I'm just gonna leave it like this, like it is. Anyway, so now you can see that we just created our first table. Now here's another thing that I'm just gonna quickly cover, just for the sake of actually us seeing better. I'm just gonna add an attribute, and that attribute is gonna be style. However, I need to warn you that when we're gonna be working with CSS, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually create a border all around our table. So I'm gonna write over here border, and then I'm gonna write 2 pixel solid red, right? So you can see that I added a border. However, when you'll be learning CSS, you'll know that this is not the right way to do it. You actually don't want to do it inline style elements. However, just for the purpose of showing you table, I'll show you that this is what we can do just for actually getting a little bit of border around, so it's easier for us to see. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to explore the table headings and how they make our tables look better. So you can see that I have the same setup over here. I still created a table element, and now I would have to create a table rows and table data, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do, I would insert table row, and within that table row, the difference would be that I would create a table headings. So I would write TH instead of TD. So let's do this. So I'm going to write TH over here, and then I'm going to copy it 2 times. And over here, I'm going to write the same thing. I'm going to write Susie, and I'm going to write Bobby over here. Bobby. So there's two table headings, right? So let's create another row over here, right underneath. And I'm just going to copy this, copy and paste. So now you can see that I have created another row. However, the point of the table headings is that actually they serve only as a whole heading, not that if you're like putting them all over your table. So I would have to change this one around, and I'm going to write over here table data. So it's going to be TD, and it's the same going to be over here, and same going to be over here. However, you can see over here that table heading over here that I still left. And here I'm going to write grade, and let's say it's going to be grade for both of them. So I'm just going to say that Susie has A and Bobby has B. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another row. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it lower. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write GPA. GPA, and I don't know, here I'm going to write 3.8. And here I'm going to write, I don't know, 3.2, something like that, right? Sorry, 3.3. So you can see that I can create table headings both ways. I can create across the row and across the column. But keep in mind that you can see over here, this corner over here, this table heading, it needs to be there. It's not just because it's a mistake. So let's say that I would delete this, right? Let's say that you think that it's better if it's not there. And you can see right away how your whole table is actually shifting. So you need to have that table heading or table data or whatever you want. However, the actual tags need to be there, so it keeps the actual space there. Otherwise, your table is going to start shifting left and right where you wouldn't want it to shift. This is going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to talk about two things in a table: the row span and a col span. And again, as you can see, that I've created over here a table element, and now we're going to be putting our rows and our columns within that table element. So what I would do first, I would create a first row, and within that row, I'm going to create, I don't know, let's say 5-6 table headings, right? So I'm going to create my first heading, and I'm just going to leave it blank over here. And then I'm just going to copy that again, like 5-6 times. And then I'm going to say that this is going to be my some type of temperature at 9 a.m. And this is going to be 10 a.m. And here it's going to be, I don't know, 11 a.m. I guess. And here it's going to be 12 a.m. And I'm just going to delete this one for now. Okay, so now we have our first row over here, you can see. So let's just take this and copy this and paste it. And now we have the second row, right? But I'm just going to change it around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a first heading over here, the one that was empty. I would say Monday. And I put a colon over here. And over here, I'm just going to create them as table data. So I'm just going to write TD. And over here, I'm just going to write, I don't know, couple of measurements of temperature, right? So I could say that it was 40. And then I'm going to copy this. Let's say now I have 4 40s, right? And I'm going to put over here, let's say, change around 50 and 60, right? So technically you could write something like this, right? You could say like, well, it was 9 a.m. and it was 40, 10 a.m. 40, and then 50 and 60. However, there's a nicer way how you can do that. And you can use that. You can do that by actually using the col span. And what you would have to do over here is you would get rid of this one table data over here, but with the first one, you would add a attribute, a col span over here. You can see that it's over here, and then you would write that you want this table data to span 2 columns over here. So you can see how it is, that it's 40 here, but it's also spanning all across the tab. And if I wanted to, I could actually delete this, and let's say that I could say span 3, and now you can see that it's spanning 3 of them. So that's another option that you have, that if you want to start spanning across the columns, you need to use the attribute col span. And now let's look at actually how we can do the row span. So we would have to do the same thing. We actually create a first row, let's say, and within that row, I'm gonna again leave this blank over here. I'm going to say TH, but I'm going to just leave that blank. And the next one, again, I'm going to write, or I'm just going to copy this, I don't know, 3 times over here. And then I would say again, 10 a.m. And over here, I'm going to write 11 a.m. And here it's going to be 12 a.m. So now I have 3 of them over here. So let's go ahead and create another row over here. So let's copy this, let's paste it over here, and now let's write over here again the same thing that we had before. So let's say we're gonna say Monday here, right? So we have Monday over here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this th of this table heading over here, and what we would have to do over here is, you see where you have TAM. And what I would have to do is I would have to write row span, and now we have a row span, and I would pretty much say that I want 2 rows, and now you can see how actually 10 is spanning across the row 1 and row 2. So you get an idea. However, the difference is that you would need to get rid of this th, because if you're going to leave this table heading over here, you can see over here, you can see how right now your table is basically spanning across here to the right, which is you don't want. Because if you're spanning across the rows, you would need to get rid of this actual table heading or table data that you have over here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to continue with our website project, the one that we have right now. So far only one page, and the main page over here like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another page over here within our website, and the page is going to be called production, and we're just going to insert a table over here. So I have a production page over here, and obviously I would need to create the actual file for it. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say that the file name is going to be production, if I could just spell it right, and HTML. So now I can see that I have production HTML. So if I go back to my main page, and if I say that I want a link to be linked to this page, so I just within a attribute href, I just place the name of the page, right, like we did it before. And over here, if I go to the production HTML right now, again, what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to use the brackets extension that I've downloaded, install the basic HTML skeleton over here, get rid of these meta tags. They're not useful right now. And don't worry about this English either. And I'm just going to say production over here. That's going to be the name of our page. And what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to go back again to our main one. And I'm just going to copy some of this, so I don't need to redo it multiple times. I'm just going to copy this, go to production, over here in the body, just paste it, and you can see that now, again, I have 3 links and actual image over here. And underneath the image, we're just going to create a heading tag over here like this. And we're going to say that this is production. And next, we're going to have to create a table over here, right? So the first thing, obviously, when we remember, we would need to create a table element like this. And just for the sake of it right away, let's create a style over here. And I'm going to say that it's going to be border. And I'm going to say that this is going to be 2 pixels solid black. All right. So right away, we can see it, what's happening. I mean, we haven't done anything, but so as we're working, it's right away going to be showing. So the next thing that I want to do over here is just create a little bit more space for us, and we would need to start using table rows. And I think I'm just going to use, let's say, somewhere around like 5 rows over here. And I'm just going to copy them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now. And we're going to start over here by actually creating a first row is just going to be all table headings anyway. So I have right now a table heading, but I think I copied it a little bit wrong because right now I have way more rows than I wanted to. So let's go back over here and let's start a new line. Let's start this one on a new line and then just copy this one, right? So now we would want, let's say, like 4 of the columns over here. These are going to be the columns. And over here, I'm just going to write a rank. That's going to be the rank for production. The next thing that I'm going to write is what is the country that's doing the production. And then let's say we're going to use the 2015 year. And over here, it's going to be 2016, like this. Something like this. So this is going to be our first row, right? And then moving along in the next row over here, again, I'm just going to create a little bit more space, and I'm going to create a table data over here. And again, I'm just going to copy this 4 times because this is going to be the countries. But I actually forgot that here I wanted to use a table heading. So the first one is going to be actually table heading over here like this. And here I'm going to write that this is going to be number 1. And the rest of it is going to be table data. So I'm going to here write China. And here, let's say I'm just going to come up with some dumb numbers. It's going to be 25 and 30. You can see that the production technically was, let's say in 2015, they produced 25 tea bags, which is very unrealistic, but just for the sake of doing something, just as an example, it works. So I'm just going to copy this one over here. And what we can do is over here right away create a couple of more places where we have the same information. And the only thing is what we need to change is the data. So here is going to be to India. I'm going to place India, and here it's going to be, let's say, it's going to be a little bit less than China. So let's say I'm going to create 25, and here it's going to be 20. And again, over here, I'm just going to paste this same information. Again, we're just going to change it around a little bit. And you can see what I'm doing pretty much basically. I'm just creating a table that the next country is going to be Kenya over here. And again, this is going to be 15, let's say 20. And the last country, don't worry, it's going to be the last. You're not going to have to listen for half an hour while I'm just adding these table datas over here. And this is going to be number 4. And the last thing is, let's say, I don't know, Russia, right? And we're going to say that Russia made 0 over here. And then in 2016, they just got busy and they made -1, just for the sake of it. So you can see how we actually created a page, a production page that has actually a very little dumb small table, but it actually serves our purpose for the fact that if we want to show how to add a table. And this would be our article page, again, what we created in the last video. So you can see that slowly but surely we keep adding pages to our web page. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. Now in this video we're going to add an audio element to our page. So what I did over here, I went to my iTunes, or you can go anywhere where you're storing music, and you can see that I just copied MP3 because otherwise obviously we're not going to be able to add an audio if we don't have an MP3 or audio file. So I go over here, and obviously I would have to create an audio element, and the audio element would stand like this. So I close it over here, but you can see that nothing is happening because there's no audio being added to my web page, right? So obviously we would have to use a couple of attributes, and the first one would be the one that we already know, and that would be the source. So we would tell the web browser what is the source where we're getting our audio. So I'm just going to click over here, my file over here. However, you can see that still nothing is happening. And another attribute that I want to show you, which is, I think it's really cool, is actually, it's called controls. And you can see that you have right now controls. So as I go over here and I just click it, and you can see that music is starting and everything is happening how it's supposed to. So I'm just going to stop it for a second here, and I'm going to show you a couple of more nice attributes that you could add. So another attribute that we could add is actually called loop. And what loop would do is basically right away as we finish the song, it would keep on playing. So let's play it right now here. But I'm gonna move it all the way. Let's see that the size is 3 minutes 2 seconds. So I'm gonna put it all the way, I don't know, to 58. And now let's see what happens. And now you can see that it started playing again. So that's what the loop does. And let me show you one more attribute that we could add. It's going to be called autoplay. And what autoplay does, that you actually don't need to go and press the play, but as soon as the page loads, it starts playing. So for that purpose, I'm just going to refresh, and you can see that the moment I refresh right away, the music starts playing. Now you obviously don't want to do that because you want your users to actually play it instead of just every time annoying music starts playing as soon as you come to the web page. However, if you decide that you want to add an autoplay, you have this option. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to add a video element to our web page, and in order to do that, I actually went already online and got a sample video, sample MP4, and you can do the same. I'm not going to show you how to do that because we already have covered the images and everything else, so you should be very comfortable by doing that. And you just need to go and type there sample video MP4, and you'll find many places where you can just get samples. And in order to create a video element, we would have to create tags, and the tags obviously would say video. And over here, again, we're going to start adding the attributes. So again, the first attribute, the one that we already know really well, would be the source. So where we're getting that video. And as you can see that by default, it comes really big. You can see that I downloaded it, but it comes really big. So let's say that we have a couple of more attributes that we could use. And the first attribute I would use is actually width. And I would set it, I don't know, to like 200 pixels. So you can see that it's much more smaller. And I can obviously add the height the same way how we did it, but I'm not gonna do that this time. So over here I would go and I would write another attribute that we already know, and that would be controls. So let's go over here, and now we have our controls. And of course we have the same two attributes, which one would be loop, which would mean that that video keep on playing. And we could also add right away autoplay, right? So let's just refresh, and you can see that video starts playing, and it's going to be pretty short. So you right away see that it's looping also. So you can see that actually adding a video is very simple, the same as audio. It's very straightforward, and as long as you have the video actually that you want to add to the web page, you should have no problems doing that. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about a very interesting element in HTML, and it is called iframe element. And what iframe element is that it's basically like a little frame that actually links your website to, let's say, a different website, or the different page in your own website, or image, or most popular, it's actually used to display a Google Maps on your website. So let's go ahead and let's create a iframe element. And the way we would do that, we would have to create a iframe element over here, and the name and self-explanatory would be iframe over here. So I just click over here, and we would have to use a source attribute, and the source attribute would basically tell the browser where to look for an iframe element. And in this case, I'm going to create an external source, and it's going to be ESPN. So I would have to type over here the HTTP, and over here I would create ESPN.com, and I'm going to close it over here, the iframe. And you can see that I have ESPN over here. Now, the thing is, my iframe is pretty much automatically set by default, but I can use two more attributes to control the width and the height, the same as with the image. So here I would say width, let's say, and I would say that I would want width to be 300 pixels, and I would want my height to be, let's say, 300 pixels, right? So you can see all of a sudden how it's changing. And if I just make this website a little bit bigger that I'm working with in index over here, you can see that my iframe is getting bigger or smaller depending on how I would change the width and the height of my iframe. Now we could also link to the pages within our own document. So let's say you can see over here that info page that we created, and I'm just going to create a live preview over here to see that you can see over here that this is our info page. You can see the name over here, and I'm actually going to zoom in so you can see that this is our info page, and this is our index page, right, where we have the ESPN. But if we go back to our index over here, and let's say I'm going to change the source, I'm going to change it from the ESPN, I'm going to change it actually to info. And if I write over here, the bracket gives me right away code hints over here. So if I just save this and refresh over here, now you can see that I am in my index page, right? You can see I'm going to zoom in here. However, the iframe is actually pointing to the different web page within my own page. That is actually the info page. Now I could also use the iframe to actually connect it to the images that I have over here in my image folder. So let's say I would write the source over here. Instead of info, I'm going to write a images. That's the folder that my images are located. And now I have two options. Those are the two images that I have downloaded, right? So let's say that I want Kevin Hart over here. So I'm just going to save this over here, and I'm going to refresh. And you can see that now my iframe is displaying a image that's actually located in my images folder. Now, another cool thing that we could do with iframes, we could actually use links to point to our iframe and actually display whatever the location of our links are. So let's say over here that I have iframe over here that is actually pointing to the picture, but I'm going to get rid of this source over here. So it's just going to be empty, and it's going to be, as you can see, the width is going to be 300 and the height is still going to be 300. And you can see in our live preview that the iframe is still here. However, there's no source, so that's why it's blank, right? And what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to create a name over here for this iframe, and I'm just going to name it frame over here. Right, so I have an iframe, it's blank, but it has a name. And over here I'm going to start creating links, and the first link I'm going to create is actually going to go again to ESPN. So I'm going to say HTTP, and it's going to be not with 3 P's, so I would have to fix it over here, and I'm going to write ESPN over here.com, and in here I'm going to use another attribute, and it's going to be target attribute. And the target attribute, I'm going to write the same name that I given the iframe. So you can see that I given the attribute name, I gave the value of frame. So right now when I'm doing the target, when I'm writing the target attribute, I would need to use the same value that I gave it the name. So I'm going to write frame over here, and I'm going to create a ESPN over here. So now you can see the link. And usually in any case before that, when we created the links, they were actually going externally. So let's go ahead and see what happens now that we have created a link that actually has the target attribute over here, and it's linking to our iframe, right? So now I'm just going to save this file over here, and I'm just going to click it refresh over here. And you can see as I press over here on a link, actually the ESPN is loading here in my iframe. So I didn't have to point it with the source, I could actually do it with the link. And the cool thing about it is that I could, let's say, create another link over here. I'm just going to create a line break before that, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the whole thing over here, and now I have 2 links, and I'm going to create one more over here. So I'm just going to say I'm going to select this, and I'm just going to copy that. So now you can see that I deleted, but I'm gonna copy it again, and now you can see that I have 3 links. All of them are pointing to ESPN, so we're gonna fix that over here. So what I'm gonna do is this location href, I'm gonna change it to let's say info page that we did before. So now I have href over here, info HTML, but you can see that I'm still using the target, and the target is still the frame, which is the name of my attribute over here. So over here, I'm going to create a different name. I'm going to say that this is going to be the info page. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually create a image over here. And our link is going to be to the image. And I'm going to say that the image is going to be funny, or let's say Kevin Hart. And over here, I'm going to use the href to point to my image over here. So I'm going to say images over here, and then I'm going to find my picture with Kevin Hart. Okay, so I'm going to save this over here, and now you can see what happens when I refresh it over here. You can see that I have it blank, but as I'm pressing, now I have the ESPN, then I have the info page, and then I have Kevin Hart over here. And you can also notice here that my page is not reloading as I'm doing this. So when I'm pressing over here the ESPN, that it's not opening the new page. It's still working over here. And the same thing happens if I have info page or Kevin Hart over here. So what's happening is that you don't need to reload your page in order to use the iframe. It's actually doing while you're still on your page. So it saves the time for whoever is visiting your web page, that the page is not downloading twice, right? So the last thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to create a Google Maps in our iframe. So I'm just going to delete it over here, everything all together. So now you can see that I have a blank page. And I'm going to show you that, let's say that if you would be creating a page for, let's say some type of business, and you would want to use the Google Maps to actually point to that web page, right? To point to that location. So I would go over here. I would open up the web browser, and I have Google over here by default. So I'm just going to write maps. And you can see over here that the Google Maps, we were going to open the Google Maps. And what we would need to do is we would need to write the name of our business that we would want to point at or the address or anything of that sort. So in this case, I'm going to type the business, and you can see that this is going to be a very good steakhouse in Chicago, and this is going to be Tango Sir. So now you can see that the web page, or I'm sorry, that Google Maps is pointing to the business. What we can do is over here, you can see that share, we just click share, and we have share link, or we have embed map. And once we click on embed map, we can see that iframe is given already for us, right? So all we have to do is actually copy this one over here, and then we go back to our text editor, and all we have to do is actually paste this over here. And now you can see that our iframe is already made for us. But you can see that it has already default height and width, and what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to make it to 300, and this one is also going to be 300. So now you can see that if I just make this live preview bigger, you can see how we have a map, the Google map, on our website using the iframe element. And what I can do is I can always zoom in or zoom out over here using the iframe and using the Google Maps. So you can see how it is a very, very neat feature. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to continue with our website project. The one that we actually have right now, a main page, and then we have two separate ones with articles and production. And what I want to do over here, I'm going to want to create another page, and in that page we're going to create a iframe element, and that iframe element is going to, let's say, point to the best tea shop. So over here I'm just going to write the best tea shop. That's going to be our name to our page shop over here. So we're just going to do some free commercial for somebody in our area, and over here obviously I would need to create a file, and the new file, and let's say that this is going to be tea shop over here like this, HTML. So you can see that it's opening and it's blank, so we're going to go back and we're going to write over here a tea shop. So you can see that now it's linking actually to our page that we created. And the next thing that we need to do is actually we would need to again copy whatever we have over here with these links and with an image, so we don't have to do double the work. Copy this, and let's jump to the tea shop. And now we have over here the HTML skeleton again that we need to insert. So I just click done, and we get rid of this metadata. We say that this is going to be a tea shop. That's going to be the name of our page. And over here we have a body. And I'm just going to paste it what we have, and we can see again we have 4 articles, and underneath there we're just going to go and we're going to create a h1 heading, which is going to say this is where the best tea shop is located. Over here shop is located over here like this. So now we have a heading, and underneath that heading we're actually going to insert our iframe. But I'm just going to make my life a little bit easier. We're just going to go over here. I'm going to open a new window, and as you remember, if we clicked in Google Maps, so I'm going to write maps over here. Now the Google is opening the maps. We go to Google Maps, then over here we write, I don't know, I'm just going to write the best tea shop, I guess. Best tea shop over here. So we go to the best tea shop, and now it's going to give us a bunch of places probably where is that tea shop. So I'm just going to go with the first one when we have, like I said, a free commercial for the coffee and tea exchange. And over here, if we click share like we remember, and we choose the second embed map over here, and now I can see that right away we have iframe. I just copied this iframe. I can close it out over here, go back to the main my main site over here, or just let's say in production so we can see what's happening. Or you know what, not production, we needed a actual we need the actual T-shop one, but we haven't actually opened it yet. So let's go over here. We're gonna paste it over here. This is gonna be our iframe, and let's just go right now and find where is our T-shop webpage, right? So now you can see what's happening. We go over here, and you can see that I have an iframe element, right? So, and right now, because I'm sitting on it, it's actually making, you can see that it's getting bigger and smaller, but you understand that idea that basically right now we created a page that actually has a iframe over here, and we can just zoom it in, zoom it out over here, or scroll over it. And what I also can do is over here, let's do this thing and let's just maximize this and maximize one more time. Now you can see that I have, this is all the pages that I have. This is the T-shop, this is another T-shop, the article and production, and when we have a homepage also. And in the T-shop webpage, you can see over here what I have. Okay, so this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about HTML forms. And actually, we're going to start talking about HTML forms because, as you can see, there's actually many forms that we could use in HTML. And if you think of forms in real life, it's actually you're collecting some type of data, right? From, let's say, when you're filling any type of survey or anything like that. So the same works in HTML. When you're filling out the form, you want your user or whoever is visiting your website either to leave a comment or, I don't know, or leave some type of information about themselves, or let's say if you're filling out any type of survey again online or something like that. So in order to create a form in HTML, you would have to first create a form element, and you can see that it has the opening and the closing tags. And after that, within that form element, we would start to type what type of form we would want. So in this case, we're going to start with the most basic one. It's going to be text field. So I write over here input, and then over here I would type attribute type. And you can see what options I'm given by the brackets, right? That you can see that it's quite a lot. So we're going to start with the first one, which is text. And the input is actually a self-enclosing form. So we'll just put here / over here. And now we have a form over here. You can see over here. But let's say I'm just going to make it a little bit realistic. And I'm just going to write username and a colon over here. And now I can see that I have a username and I have a form over here for that username. Now, once we're going to start actually working with a forms, or in general, once you're going to start working with forms in real life, you'll see that obviously the database would need to know what type of form it is and how to process it. So another attribute that you always have to write with the forms is actually name of the form. Now you can choose whatever name you want, but it would make sense actually if you would make something that's relevant to, let's say, username. So in this case, I'm just going to write username, but I could have easily named this dog or cat or animal or whatever I would want. But it makes more sense if it's relatable to the actual form that you're trying to fill out. So we go over here and we have username, and let's say I'm going to say Johnny345, and obviously once I press enter, the page just reloads, but nothing is happening because we haven't connected to any type of database. But you can see over here that we have created our first form. So let's just copy this and let's make another text input field, but this one let's create a line break in between, and like this. And over here, I'm going to say favorite food. Okay, and now I have a username, and then I have favorite food. Now, once we will actually going to be sending the forms to some type of database, there's actually two attributes that we would need to enclose in the form element. The first one would be action over here, and the second one would be method. And again, you can see that method has two options. It's get or post, and action actually attribute would have more options because we can either send it to that website, send it to the database, or just in the most simple one, we can just send it to our email, which is we're going to do, but not right now. We're going to actually start covering that once we cover the input type is going to be the submit button. And then I'll show you how we could actually just test it out by sending to our email. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Now, another attribute that we could create is actually called max length attribute, which actually limits the actual letters that we could, let's say, use in our forms. Okay, so we go over here, and I would create a max length, and you see that the bracket is giving me a code hint. So I'm using the max length, and over here I would say, let's say, I don't know, 5, right? So I go back to the password, and as I keep typing, you can see that if you're still even trying to type, it's not going any further because you have set the limitation to 5. And the same way you could set the limitation to 2. And let's say I would delete this right now and start typing again, and you can see that the max that allows me is 2. And you can obviously use the max length attribute also to the input if you would want it to, or any other type of form. It's the attribute that you can use on all your forms, and basically what it does, it limits the amount of letters or characters that you're using on your forms. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about another HTML form, which would be text area, and which could be used for, let's say, example, when you want your user to leave the comment. So within the form element, I'm going to write leave your comment here and put a colon, and I'm going to create a text area form, and the name for it is pretty self-explanatory, text area over here. And now you can see that over here I have a text area, right? Now again, we would use the attribute name, which we will just gonna, right now I'm gonna write comment, but again, it's used when we're actually sending data. For now, it's just we're naming it so it's relevant to what type of text area we're creating. And another thing for text area is that we can actually control the height and the width of the text area with attributes. And the first attribute is going to be calls, and that actually controls the columns in a text area. So let's say if I want, like, let's say 10, or if I wanted 50 columns, you can see how my text area is changing. And I'm just going to leave it again at 10. And another thing, we can actually control rows. So I write rows over here, and I'm going to say that I want, I don't know, let's say again 10 rows, and you can see how my text area is changing. Now, another thing about HTML forms, in this case, in the text area case, that as I'm writing over here, and let's say I'm just pressing enter and I'm going down, you can see how HTML is actually creating a scroll bar on the right hand side over here. So if I write in a text area, and if my comment, let's say, is really long, HTML is actually creating this neat little scroll bar that just helps the user to navigate. Now let's just recap little things from the previous video. Let's say if I would want just to type a username over here, username, and I would create over here a input form, and I would write that input form as type, and I'm just gonna say text, and name, I'm gonna say again username, and I'm gonna close it out. And you can see right now that we have a normal username, and then we have a text area. And if we want to recap one more thing about the password, then we wrote a password over here, and we put a semicolon, and then we would again create a input, and this type, the type would be password, so it's going to be password, and the name again would be password also, just because it would relate to the actual element that we're creating. And now we have two things. We have username, we have password that we learned before, and we have the actual text area that we covered in this video. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering HTML forms and more specifically radio buttons. Now, again, the same thing is that like the previous forms, we would have to place them within a form element. So let's say over here, I'm just going to write a paragraph, and the paragraph tags, within the paragraph tags, I would say, what is your favorite city to visit over here? So now we have a paragraph, and that is asking what is your favorite city to visit. And let's say over here, we're going to create a input element, but the type should be set equal to value as the radio button over here. And now, just like before, we would have two more attributes. One would be name, and the other one in this case is going to be the value. And let's just create a first option over here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be Chicago over here, and let's just make it a little bit bigger so it works with us. But you can see that again there's two attributes, and we don't need to worry about these attributes right now. We only need to worry about them when we're going to be actually sending information, how to let's say a database or website or email or anywhere we would desire. However, you can see over here there's a name attribute, and name attribute for all the radio buttons we'll be creating should be the same. So I'm going to create a name city, but the value we can set to whatever we would want, but it would make sense if we set it equal to the actual option that we're giving, right? Over here I set to Chicago, so I set the value also to Chicago. And what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to copy this 2 more times and just start a new line, so it just makes a little bit more sense. And now we have what is your favorite city to visit, and we have 3 Chicagos. But again, the name should be all the same for all of them, so they know. So the browser knows that this is the combination of these radio buttons. So over here, I'm going to set the value to, let's say, Detroit, and I'm going to give it as an option also Detroit. And over here, I'm just going to say it to Portland. So this is going to be Portland, and the option is also going to be Portland. Now, here's the thing though. With the radio buttons, once you select one, there's no way of deselecting. You can only select the another one. That's made by design. If you want something like a checkbox, that you will be able to check it or uncheck it. Basically, that you haven't checked anything. But with the radio buttons, you can only deselect by actually selecting the other option, and that's made by default. So let's say if you would have a yes or no question, then you could choose either yes or no. There would be no other option. Now there's also one more thing that I'm going to show you, and that is actually the attribute that is checked. And what it does is when the actual page is already loaded, it displays that radio button is checked, right? So let's say that we have Portland over here, right? So I'm just going to save this, and I'm just going to refresh this. And you can see that right away as the page is loaded, the Portland is checked. Now I could also just move this attribute, and let's say that I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to set it equal to Chicago over here. So now the Chicago is checked. And again, once I refresh, you can see that my Chicago radio button is checked. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about HTML forms, and we're going to talk about checkbox more specifically. So let's say again, we're working in our HTML file, and you can see that again we would need to place the HTML form, this checkbox form, within the form element. And again, I'm just going to create a paragraph where I would say what is your favorite, let's say, music genre, right? So I'm just going to say genre, and I put a colon over here. And again, we would have to create a input elements. And again, if we're typing type, and we need to set the value of the type equal to checkbox over here. And again, the same as with the radio buttons, when we are setting the name, we would have to set all of them the same. So I'm going to say genre over here, and if I want the value, again, the value should be the same as you're giving the choice. So let's say in this case, I'm just going to say the value is going to be equal to rock, because that's going to be my option. And let's say over here, I'm just going to place rock, and then I'm going to create another one, and I'm just going to copy this one over here so I don't have to type as much. So now I have 2 more checkboxes, right? And just let's make a little bit pretty. So over here, I'm just going to create a pop, and that's going to be my other option, not pour, but pop. So let's go over here, pop, and over here is going to be jazz, not jacks, jazz. And over here again, value, I'm just going to set it to jazz. So now you can see that I have 3 checkboxes, and all of them have the same name. However, the values again are by design. I just set them equal the same, but I have options. But again, we could have used different value if you wanted to. And you can see over here that with the checkboxes, I can check all of them. I can check none of them. That's again made that way. That is the biggest difference between radio buttons and the checkboxes. And also, as always, we can have the attribute checked over here, checked, and we can set it equal to checked. So we're just going to save this, and once we refresh, we can see that rock, let's say, has the checked attribute right now. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to keep covering HTML forms, and more specifically, we're going to cover drop-down list box. And again, while the rest of the HTML forms, exactly the same, they were actually within a form element, so the same would be with a drop-down list box. So we go within our form element over here, and I'm going to create a paragraph which would say what, let's say, what device do you listen your music on, right? What device over here do you listen to music on? So over here, next thing I would want to do is I would want to create a select element, and it would have the attribute name, and the name obviously would be the same for all my drop down list box over here. So I would create a name, and I'm just going to say that this is going to be equal to devices over here. So I'm going to close it out, and now all the options are going to be within my select element, and you can see that this is my drop down list box. So I'm just going to start with the first one, and the option, this is going to be my element that I would need to create. I would need to create a option element, and I would have to set the value over here, and the value is going to be obviously again connected to what option I'm going to give. So let's say in this case, I'm just going to create iPod, and you can see that right now my first on my list box is actually iPod. Now I'm just going to copy this 2 more times, and let's say that I'm going to say that this is going to be equal to radio, and you can see how it is very similar to how we were working with checkboxes and radio boxes. So again, the value is radio, and I'm going to give it radio. So now when I open it up, you can see that I have radio and iPod. So the last thing as I would need to do is I would actually need to change this one over here, and I'm going to say that it's computer, and over here I'm going to write also computer. So now I have 3 of them. I have iPod, I have radio, and I have a computer over here. And again, I can check, and once I check one of them, it's pretty much works the same as with the radio button, that you can select only one of them. this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering HTML forms, and more specifically the multiple select box. Now, it's very similar to drop-down list box that we actually covered in a previous video. However, there's a couple of ways how we can actually make it for user that he can select multiple options. So again, we will going to be creating our HTML form within a form element over here, and we would have to create a element, a select over here, and again the name should be the same for all of them. So we're just going to create a name where we're going to say that it's going to be equal to instruments over here, and I'm just going to create a closing tag also. Now before that, let's create a paragraph that would actually ask the question that we would want to ask. So let's say, do you play any of the following instruments? That would be our question, right? And over here we created a select box that would have multiple options over here. And again, we would start over here by creating a option element over here. And the first one we would set value to, let's say it's going to be guitar. So I'm just going to say guitar, and over here I'm just going to close it out, and I'm going to say guitar. And I'm just going to take this, copy, let's say a couple of times, and now I have a guitar. Then I'm going to say that I want keyboard. And again, my spelling might be not the best, but it gets the job done. So keyboard, then it's going to be drums. Then it's also going to be drums. And the last one is going to be, let's say, bass. Right? So we have bass, and over here the same. So now we have an options. We have 4 options, and it's pretty much the same as our drop-down list box. However, we can do a couple of tweaks, and the first thing we could do is we could actually add a attribute, and that attribute would be size. So I would set the size, and I would need to give it a value. So let's say I would give it a value of 2, and you can see what happens is that I have right away 2 options over here that I have either showing I have guitar and keyboard. But let's say if I would set it to 4, I have all the options that I want. So that's what the size attribute does. And what other attribute is that you can actually use the multiple attribute and set it equal to multiple. And what it does, that it allows your user actually to select multiple options, not just one. So that's how it makes it different from the drop-down list box. And obviously over here we can do the same thing, where we can actually use the selected. So let's say I create again the selected attribute over here, and I set it equal to also to selected. And once the page is going to load, you can see that my first selected guitar was right away selected. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about HTML forms, and more specifically a submit button. And again, like the same with the rest of the other HTML forms, we will going to be creating that within our form element over here. And let's say over here, I'm just going to write a basic question within the paragraph, and I'm going to say, let's say, subscribe to, let's say, to our email list, right? So you would want your, I don't know, your visitor to subscribe to your email list over here. And the next thing what we would do, we would create a simple input type text box. So over here I would write type, and it should be, the value should be equal to text, and the name, I'm gonna say, I don't know, would be equal to, let's say, email in this case. Again, we don't care about it right now because we're not going to be sending it anymore anywhere yet. but I'm just going to close it out over here. And the next thing, now that we have a simple input text box, we're going to create a simple submit button. And the way we do that, over here we would write type, and the type, the value is going to be equal to submit over here. And the name, I'm just going to say, in this case, is going to be subscribe over here. And one more interesting attribute is going to be value, but the value in this case is going to pretty much display what is the name on the button. So let's say over here, I'm just going to say subscribe over here, and then I'm just going to close it out. And now you can see that I have a subscribe button over here, and that is within a form element. Now that we have created a submit button, we could actually try it out how it is that we can send the form, right? Remember, I was telling you that actually we would have to fill it out here, action and the method. So this is what we're going to do. Just for training purposes, we'll see what happens if we try to send the form. Well, since we don't have any type of website that we can send to, or we don't have any type of database where we can send to, let's try sending just basically to our email. And what I'm going to do right over here, I'm going to write post, and this is going to be a method because we have two methods. We have actually get and post. And over here, the action, I'm going to use the email link that we learned, and this is going to be mail to, and then we put a colon, and here I would write the actual email address that we're using. So let's say in this case, I'm going to say your, and I'm going to say at email.com. So you can pick whatever email address if you want to test this. So now that we have everything set up and we have learned how to create a submit button, let's go over here and let's type that, say Johnny, and at hotmail.com, right? Over here, and I would click subscribe over here, and now you see what happens. It actually takes us to our mail once we click the submit button, where we can actually send let's say send whatever our email to the email that we wanted to. So now again, in this case I created an email that doesn't exist, but you can try it with your own email, write it here, then send it, and you can see that how it's going to arrive in your email box, right? So I'm just going to close this over here, and I'm going to say I don't want to save this, and let's just jump back over here. And now I can see that this is how we could create a nice submit button that would actually submit our form. And again, this is just for training purposes, but I'm just going to leave this one for next videos so we can kind of try it out how our forms work. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering HTML forms, more specifically file input box. And just like with the rest of the HTML forms, we will going to be placing them within form element. And since we learned in the last video how to actually work with the submit buttons, how to create them, how to use them, you can see that we're going to be using this form, and we're going to be actually using this action and method. And action is going to be if you want to try it out, you can always write over here your email, and you can use this method post, and you can actually in an email you're going to receive the form that you just created. I mean the values that you're going to be putting in that form. Now let's say that if we wanted to user to upload their file, right? So I'm going to create over here within the form, I'm going to create a paragraph where it's going to say upload your file here. And the next thing I would need to do is I would need to actually create a place where they could upload that file. So again, I would write a input element, and the type I would write over here is going to be equal to file. And again, the name, I'm just going to create file. It doesn't really matter for the purpose that we're just testing it out over here. And I'm just going to close it over here. And now you can see that I go over here and I have a choose the file, upload your file here, and it says that no file is chosen. But if I would click over here, choose the file, you can see that it's opening up right now my desktop, or I can go to my documents or downloads or anything. So the user by default, he can basically go ahead and download the file that he would want. And the next thing that we would do is we would actually create again a input, and we're just going to create a submit button, and again the type is going to be submit over here. And let's say this time, since I'm going to be using the value, and you can say over here that upload your file here, or just say upload, and I'm just going to close it out. And now you can see that how I've created also a submit button with my file. So let's say if I would choose the file over here, I would click on it, and let's say that I would just pick this screenshot, and then I would say upload here. And now once I click it, again, we're just going to go over here to the email, to your email that is on your computer, and it tells you where you're sending the file over here. And you can see that it's actually sending this file that I actually picked. I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to close it out, don't save it, and jump back over here. And this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering a couple of more elements that actually help our forms to appear much nicer. And the elements are going to be label, field set, legend, image, and also we're going to be creating a button that has the background of an image. So first, let's get to label element. So the normal way how we'd always work with a form elements, we would place them within the form element tags over here, and then we would, let's say over here, I would say contact details. You can see that again my typing is not very great. Contact details over here, and then the next paragraph I would say, let's say again I'm going to create another paragraph, and I would say email, and over here I would just create a simple input element, and I would set type equal to text over here, text like this, and name again I'm gonna say email, right? So that would be our typical way how we always done it before. Now here's the deal. Once I actually pressing on this email, you can see that nothing is really happening. Now there's way actually around it how we can create a label element that would actually uncover this email, this text over here, and our input box that we have created. So I'm just gonna delete this over here, these paragraph tags, and we're gonna get rid of them. And over here I'm gonna create a label, and you can see that it has a closing tag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this and actually paste this over here. So now we have the email and input type text that is within our label element, right? And what happens over here, once I press it actually on the email, you can see how my box right away lightens up, and it actually helps with the ones who are visually impaired. That's why when you're creating websites, you're actually doing this. You're actually, whenever you have some type of form, you're actually putting within the label element over here. Now let's create a couple of more of these labels. So again, I just deleted it, but let's say that I would want to copy this, and let's say that this one is going to be phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to over here I'm going to say that this is phone, and over here I'm going to create phone. Again, the name should be the same as the choice that we're giving, but what I'm gonna do over here, I'm just gonna create a line break over here. So now we have two forms, we have email and we have phone. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another one, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this and paste it over here, and the last one should be mobile, right? let's imagine that the phone is the home phone number or work phone number, and this is going to be mobile over here. And let's say here I'm going to set it to mobile again. And here again we would have to create a line break. So now we have three nice forms: email, phone, mobile. And what we can do is, since they're actually referring to the same thing, we could actually create something called Fieldsets, which actually let's say covers all our options if they're pretty much similar, right? So what I would do over here, I'm just going to delete this for now, and I'm going to create a element Fieldsets, and again you can see that it has opening and closing over here, and I'm just going to cut this and paste it over here, and now you can see how all my forms are actually are sitting within a nice box which is called Fieldsets, which actually it makes sense. Let's say if I would be creating forms about phone right now, but then let's say it would be about something else, I could actually create my forms within one Fieldsets, then create another Fieldsets. So it actually kind of makes sense, and it's easier to operate for the user who's coming to our website. And what we can what we can do is, if we want to create a nice top for our Fieldsets, we can always use the legend element over here. And let's say over here I'm going to write contact details, right? So now I can see how nicely it is done over here, that we have a nice contact details on top of our whole box. And the last thing that I'm going to show you is how to create a button that has the background of an image, right? And let's say that again I'm just going to write input, and over here as a type I'm going to go down here, and value I'm going to create is image. And what we would need to do for the image, the same as for the regular image, we would actually have to have a source. And I'm just going to note that in images somewhere I have Kevin Hart picture. So I'm going to go over here, and that's going to be probably funny. That's going to be my Kevin Hart over here. And also what I would need to do is width and height. Those are two attributes the same as for my image. So let's say width, I'm going to send it to 100 pixels. And over here, the height, I'm gonna have it, I don't know, to 10 pixels. Set it equal to 10 pixels over here, and close it out over here. And now you can see my little Kevin Hart over here, the button. But what I'm gonna do is, you can see that I created actually outside the field element. So let's say that I'm just gonna cut this over here, and I'm just gonna create a new one. And now you can see this is my little button. Now I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so we could actually maybe see it a little bit better. And if I go over here, you can see that as I'm hovering, it is actually working as a button. So this is something that maybe this image is not the best for the example, but you can, if you have some type of image that you would want to use as your button, you can actually do it like this. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about HTML forms, and more specifically of how to validate forms. First thing that I would want to show you though is how we can use a label element a little bit differently than I showed you in the previous video. So let's say that right now we would create a label, and that would be an opening tag, and you can see that I made a mistake. It needs to be label, and over here label also. And now within this label element we would actually write that, let's say, username, and over here colon, and over here I would write a input, and the type would be text, and let's say name would be again username, and I would close it over here. And you can see that this is how we were using the label before, right? So we click on it, and actually it right away highlights our input text field. Now there's actually a better way how to use the label, and it works like this, that I would cut this one, and I would place it at the end of the actual name here, the username, or whatever name we'll be using. However, in opening label tag, I would use a for attribute over here, and the value for the for attribute would have to be the same value as we're using for the name. So over here, I would use the username over here like this. So this is the proper way how to actually use the label, by connecting with a for attribute to connect to the text or whatever type of form you would want to connect it to the label. So this would be the proper way. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. And so this one, I'm going to create a password, but let's do this. Let's, in between them, let's just create a line break. So in this case, I'm just going to create password, and over here, I'm going to create also password. And here also, I'm going to create a password. So password like this. Now, and obviously we remember from the password as we were typing, but it shouldn't be hiding. But since I didn't change this to password, over here I would have to write password. And now as I go back in here, you can see that it's hiding the text I'm typing. Now there's a way in HTML how we can actually validate the form. And the way to do that, we would actually write required. That would be our attribute, and we would set it equal to required also. So now I go over here and you can say, well, nothing happens, right? Well, let's do one thing. Let's create a input, and we're going to create this input as type, and we're going to set it equal to submit. So basically we're going to create a submit button, and the value I'm going to create also, I'm going to say submit over here like this, and then I close it out, and now I have submit button. And since we have created here this our test email where we are technically sending our data, let's try it out. So let's see over here, and let's say I'm gonna delete this. I'm just gonna write over here username, and it's gonna be Johnny. But see, when I'm trying to submit it, every time it jumps back and says please fill out this field. So I cannot submit this form or send it to our fake email because I have set this attribute, required attribute, to my password. So every time I'm trying to submit, you see it's not letting me to do that. So of course, if I'd want to set this attribute, add it to, let's say, to my username value, it would do the same thing. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to look at a couple of more inputs. It's going to be website, email, search, and placeholder input. So let's start by, again, creating a label element over here like this. So we create a opening label tags, and over here I'm just going to write a for attribute, and I'm going to say that it's email, because over here I'm going to place email and colon over here, and after that I'm going to create a input box. But when I'm writing the type attribute, I'm going to write email, and you will see why I'm doing that. And a name, I'm going to give it again email. And what happens over here is that I'm just going to close that out over here, and now I can see that if I'm trying to type anything else, let's say that if I'm starting with Johnny and right away it gives me Johnny Hotmail, right? Well, let's say that if I would just write Johnny and I'm just trying to pass it the information. However, you can see right away it says please include a @ otherwise it's not going to accept the form. Now another form that I would want to show you is actually a website form, and it works pretty much the same way. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and over here, and I'm going to say website over here, and I'm going to say the name is a website, and over here also is going to be a website. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to write a type, and it's going to be URL like this, and save it. And now I'm gonna have to do a little bit of line breaks, otherwise it's not working really well. So what I'm gonna do over here is I'm just gonna create a line break like this, and now I have two nice forms. And over here is exactly the same. You can see that if I'm trying to just type whatever I want, it's actually, there's a tooltip that's saying that please enter actually valid, let's say, the website, right? And the last thing that I would want to show you is actually how we can create a search input. So I'm just going to copy this over here and paste it over here. And let's say that in this case, I'm just going to create, search. And what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to write search. And it a little bit messed up what I was doing. So I'm just going to create colon over here. I'm just going to delete this. And I'm going to delete this. And over here, I'm going to write as type. I'm going to write search. And again, I'm gonna have to create a line break somewhere, otherwise it doesn't look particularly good. So line break over here, and now I have a search. So over here, if I'm typing something that it's technically starting to search, and I can just use the X and get rid of it, right? Now there's also one thing that one more attribute that I would want to show you, and it's a placeholder attribute. And what happens is that attribute helps you if, for example, I don't know what to type here. I'll write enter keyword, and you can see how it's lighter gray. It's basically suggesting what I should type in the search box, right? So once I start typing, it disappears. However, once I get rid of it, you can see that again it's saying enter the keyword. So that's what the attribute placeholder would be for. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering HTML forms, and more specifically, we're going to look at how we can actually use the date input in HTML forms. So what we would have to do is, obviously, we're going to start creating labels like we learned how to do it properly. So over here, I'm going to create for attribute, and I'm just going to set this, let's say, set this blank for now, because I don't know what I'm going to be using. But let's say if I would want to have some type of date sometime, so let's say I'm going to say departure. Okay, that's going to be the date that I would be interested in. And over here, I'm going to create a input, and the type is going to be date, date over here. And the name, I'm going to say, let's say the same thing. I'm just going to say departure over here, and I'm going to close it out. And so since I know that I need to connect my label with my input over here, I'm going to use the same value for the name. So it's going to be departure over here. And once I've done that, I'm just going to create a submit button. So let's say again, I'm just going to write input, and I'm going to say that my input would be type. I would use the attribute type over here, and I would say that this is going to be submit, and submit, and the value is also going to be, let's say, submit over here. So now I have a little date input, which is you can see what I can do is I can actually open it up, and you can see that I can set the date to whenever let's say would be departure would be happening, and also I can have over here a submit button. So I go down here and I can just pick whatever I want, and I can just cancel that and open it up again. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. Now that we have learned everything about HTML forms, I'm actually going to show you a shortcut or a help that a brackets text editor would provide for you, where we can actually download the extension, and it's going to do all the forms for us. So let's go to extension, brackets extension manager over here. So I just click it over here and I go to the available. Over here, I just click it. And once I'm in here, I just write quick form tools. And over here, I just click install. So now that we have downloaded the extension, you can see this little toggle menu over here on the top. And if I just press it over here, and you can see what are our options. And I want to point to you, the first thing that we would want to do is we would actually want to add actual form element over here. And by mistake, I had my cursor all the way on the top. So I just need to cut this and paste it over here. And now you can see that my form element is within my body. And over here, let's start going down a list. So this was my first one, was I actually added the form. So let's say that I want a file input, and you can see right away how I have a file over here. Now you can see that I don't have the label over here, or a field set, or a legend. So those elements I would need to create myself. And also, obviously, if I would want a line break in between them, I would also need to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to create a line break over here. I'm going to place my cursor, and let's say the next thing that I would want a text field. So now I can see that I have a text field over here. And again, I'm just going to create a line break. And let's just keep going down the list. So the next thing, I have a button, and I would need to also add my value for the button because it comes in blank. So let's say I'm just going to call it a button. So now you can see that I have a button over here. And you basically get an idea that all these forms that we actually learned in whatever, the 10 videos or whatever, you can actually add them very easily like this. So let's say I would have a link right now. So I'm just going to press a link, and you can see that I have a link that is not technically part of the form, but it still makes your life easier, where you can actually use this to add the links if you wanted to. And here are the radio button, I believe, right? So let me just create a line break over here. And let's check it out, the radio button. And now we have a radio button. I guess the name is here, but obviously I would still need to create a some type of name for it, so I would still need to do that myself. But you basically get an idea of how we can work with this quick form tool. And this would be the audio, and this would be the video, and over here is the embedded flash file. Now I want to also show you these three things that you have over here. So basically what it is this creates files for you. So this one would be a new HTML file, and you can see on left hand side how right away it's going to appear. You can see this untitled file over here, and you can see what it's doing. That basically it created for us a new HTML file. You see that with the char set, or with a character set over here, and with the body where we're working. And let's go back to our index where we were working before. But if I would wanted to, I could actually add a new CSS, the cascading style sheets, and new JavaScript. So you can see how it could be very neat if you're working with a lot of forms. It actually could save your time, that you don't need to actually type everything out, that you just create a form and you add whatever the attributes that you would need yourself. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial. In this video, we're actually going to be covering one more page in our website project that we're working on. But this is going to be the final page that we're actually going to be adding. And this page is going to contain forms. But as you can see, if we have a look what we have over here, so we have our T website, and then the articles page, production page, and T shop page. So let's go back to the T website over here, and I have 4 links. So I would need to create one more link actually, if I would want to make it obviously one more page, right? So I'm just gonna make this smaller because for some reason it's really getting in my way over here. So I'm just gonna keep this small so we have a little bit more space. And what I'm gonna do over here, I'm just gonna copy this over here like this, and actually I cut it, so that was pretty smart. But anyway, so now we have one more link, but we don't want it to be the same link, so I'm gonna say that this link is gonna be called survey over here like this. And over here I'm gonna write that I need to create a page first, right? So I'm gonna say that this is gonna be survey HTML HTML, and over here I'm just gonna say that I need to go on the website. I need to go back to survey HTML, and this is gonna be the location of where I want my link to go. So now I can see that I have, I believe, 5 links, right? 5 links, and I have 5 pages. But again, as always, what I would want to do is actually I'm just going to copy this so it makes it a little bit faster. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to go to survey, and over here I'm just going to use again brackets extension, basic HTML skeleton, and over here we just get rid of these meta tags for now, and within the body we just paste it over here like this. That's it. This is the work that we have done, right? So now we have all the addresses and everything, and over here what we're gonna do is we're just gonna place some forms here. So what I want to do is make it a little bit bigger so we can see, and all our forms are gonna be here. And obviously I'm gonna create well, I'll try to do as many forms as I can, but I don't think that I'm gonna do all of them. But the first thing that obviously we would need to do is actually create a form element over here, but the attribute, the action, and the actual method, I'm just gonna leave it for now a blank over here, action. I'm just gonna say that this is gonna be a blank, and method also, I don't think that there's a way, there's a need to actually do that. If you want, if you remember, we can actually try to do in our email, but I'll let you do that yourself because again, we're not going to be covering anything right now, how to actually deal with the forms in the sense of actually working with the databases. So the next thing that I would want to do is actually create a field set over here. And within that field set, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a legend over here. And the legend is going to say, let's say your details over here like this. So this is going to be my legend. And as I keep going then I'm going to start creating labels, a bunch of them actually. And the first label is going to basically going to be a name. And I'm going to say name over here like this. And we can go over here. You can see this is where we're starting right now. And obviously by the name we're going to write that input, and this is going to be the simplest one that we actually can have, and this is going to be text over here like this. And I'm going to say the name of it is going to be name over here like this. And the next thing that I would want to do is, let's say that I'm going to leave the size to be like, let's say 30, because I don't want whoever is dealing with those forms, I don't want them to be become a writer. So we're just going to leave it at 30. And the next thing what we're going to do is actually we're going to create a line break over here like this. So now we have created our first form input, right? And obviously we're going to keep on going because we're not going to be stopping here. And the next thing what we're going to do is actually we're going to create a let's say I don't know, 2 more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these labels, I'm going to copy this and paste it over here, and over here again we're going to paste it, right? So now we have 3 of them, but of course here I'm just going to write a different name. If we had a name over here, I'm going to save that I would want their, let's say, email over here. And the next thing that I would want is let's say we're going to have them to actually review it, right? But here email, and then we write text, and obviously it's going to be email, and actually the name is going to be email also. And I'm going to say that the size, let's say, is still going to be 30. And I think, you know what we can do, we can actually take this last name over here, and we can still say that this is going to be text, and we're going to say that this is the last name. And now what we can do is actually we're just going to change it around, because I think I went right away with an email, but I should have probably first would be smarter a little bit if we actually would have put the last name, right? So now we have a name, we have a last name, and we actually have an email, and you can see that the input type is email, right? So moving along, what we can do is we can actually create another field set, right? Because this would be our details. But the next thing, let's create a field set that would be actually dealing with a review of how the person would find our website, right? So I create a new field set over here, and again I would start with the legend, and the legend would say your review over here like this. So you can see again I have a nice legend, and the next thing that I would want is, let's say, to create a label. And of course that label would be, I think I'm going to place it within paragraph tags over here like this. And let's just keep going and create a label over here. And that label, I think in this case I'm just going to add a attribute over here, like 4. And let's say I'm just going to leave it black for now as I'm working right now. And over here I'm just going to say, how did you hear about us? Over here, and exclamation, not an exclamation, actually a question mark. And I'm going to close it out, this label like this. And actually I didn't mistake. You can see the label is here, and actually I'm just going to put it here. So this is how I want to look. And then what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to create a select box over here. So I'm going to write a select over here, and I'm going to say that the name is, let's say, select. Pretty simple. And over here I'm going to say ID, and again I can just say something, let's say I'm going to hear about. And now when I know that what is my name over here for my select box, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create this ID, and this is going to be here about. So now you can see that I have created a select box over here. How did you hear about us? And what I'm gonna what I need to do is, obviously I need to create a couple of options here, so they actually have something to choose from. So the first thing is I'm gonna do is I need to write a option over here, option element, and I would say value, and that value would be, let's say, Google. And over here I'm gonna write Google. So now this, you can see that this is my first option, right? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to copy this so it's a little bit quicker. And the next thing what we can have over here is a friend. And the next thing probably we can do is advert. That would be the commercial somewhere over here like this. And the last thing what we probably would do is, let's say, other. So that's their options. So we go over here, and again we write the same thing. So we have friend, we have a advert, and then the last thing we have other. So these are the options, and you can see that this is our nice field set over here that we have set for how did you like what is, let's say, our review, right? But now when we're done with this paragraph, let me just go up like this. This is going to be our first paragraph in this how did you hear about us. And what we can do is we can actually create another paragraph within the same field set, right? This is just going to create us a little bit more room, and let's open up a different paragraph and let's just keep working. And over here I'm going to say what would be like, would you visit us again, right? Would they be interested in, let's say, of coming and visiting our website, right? Would you again? Over here we write like this, and then I'm going to create a line break over here like this, line break over here, line break element over here like this, and then I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to start creating again a labels. And in this case I'm just going to create a radio buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a label, and within the label I'm just going to start creating a radio buttons. And the way we obviously create a radio button, we're going to use type, and we're going to say that the type is going to be radio. And what we need to go is that we need to actually create a name, and the name for all of them should be the same if we're working with them. So in this case, what I'm going to say that the name is, let's say the name is going to be a rating over here, and the value is going to be, in this case, it's going to be yes. But I'm going to create yes, no, maybe. So now I have yes, and what I need to do over here is actually create a yes option for the person, right? So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to close this label, and I'm going to copy this this label 2 more times, because these are going to be my radio buttons. So I'm going to press copy, paste, and we're gonna open a new one and paste it over here. And now I can see, would you visit us again? Yes, yes, yes. Well, but that's not what they probably would want to do. So let's go here, no. And over here, we're going to say maybe. And over here, the value obviously would have to, well, would have to be the same in a sense that it would need to make sense. So therefore, we're going to be creating the value exactly the same as our option over here. So I'm just going to say no over here. And what I would want to do is actually probably this is going to be it for this paragraph. And the next thing that what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to create another paragraph. And this is going to be for the comments. So let's just keep going over here. We're going to close it out and we're going to keep on with the new paragraph. So in a new paragraph, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say that I'm going to create a new label. And that label is going to have over here a attribute, and it's going to be attribute 4, and it's going to be for comments over here like this. And within that label, we're going to write a comment. So we're going to say comments. So you can see what I'm doing over here, and you can see our labels. And maybe what we can do always, we can just zoom it in so we can see it a little bit better how it looks like over here. And you can see that this is in our survey page. However, I haven't named the page, so let's just jump over here and right away write survey. So we know that this is our survey page, right? And now we're still working over here with the comments. And the next thing that I would want to do is actually I'm going to again create a little bit more space over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a line break over here like this. So now we have a line break. And let's see what is happening, what else we can actually add over here. And I'm going to say that I'm going to add let's say a text area where they actually could write their comments, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say a not template, text area over here. And I'm just going to get back again the code hints, text area over here. And I'm going to say that text area is going to have, let's say, rows, right? That's going to be the attribute that we'll be using. And I'm going to say that it's going to have like 10 rows and it's going to have like, I don't know, like 50 columns, right? So this is going to be a 50 columns, 10 rows, and I'm going to call it ID. I'm going to say that this is going to be, I'm going to give it a name ID, and I'm just going to say comments. So this is going to be my ID, okay? And over here, I'm just going to close it out, and this is going to be a text area, right? This is what we have. So if we go over here, you can see that this is the comments and this is the text area. So I'm going to, again, make it a little bit more space for myself over here, and I'm gonna do the last paragraph over here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a label over here, and the label is basically gonna be a submit, right, for the submit button. So now that I've closed this paragraph, and the last thing that I'm gonna do is actually create a submit button. But also I think that it's good to actually have a checkbox over here. I think that's also something that it's probably better if we actually remember how we did that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a label over here. And I'm going to say that this label is going to be for the input, and I'm going to say type over here. And I'm going to say that type is actually a checkbox, right? Because that's what I said over here. So I have a type is going to be the checkbox, and the name is going to be subscribe. That's going to be my option, and then I'm going to say that this is going to be checkbox checked, because remember when we wanted a checkbox to be checked, all we had to do is actually create a attribute over here like this, checked, and this is here I'm going to say checked. So now I'm going to close this out. And now you can see that I have my little checkbox over here. And let's say that I'm going to have a name for it. So I'm going to say that sign me up for email updates. So this is going to be my checkbox. You can see over here. And the next thing that I would want to do is actually I'm gonna go ahead and make room here with the label. And the last thing that I'm gonna do is actually create a line break over here, like this. And what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna create a submit button, and I'm gonna write over here input, and I'm gonna say that input type, and it's gonna be a submit. That's gonna be a submit button, and the value I'm gonna write that, let's say submit if you dare, right? If you dare. So I'm just gonna close this out for now over here like this. And basically what we have is pretty much the end, because we have a form and we have all the field sets, and I think we have covered everything that we wanted, right? So this is going to be it for these forms over here. And what I want to do is actually I want to maximize this window over here, and again I need to maximize it one more time. And now you can see that I have my survey, and this is going to be my actual T-shop whatever page where we had our iframe over here. And over here, if we wanted the survey and articles and production, and let's just jump back to our brackets, and now you can see that this is our website in general, right? So when we had a website, you can see that this is where we're actually working without a live preview. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to talk about two attributes that from now on, when we're going to start actually learning CSS, we're going to be using a lot. And it is ID and class. And what is the difference? Well, remember we were covering a little bit of ID when we were actually setting up links within our own page. When we wanted a specific link to go, let's say down all the way to the bottom of the page, and we created an ID for that, right? And what we remember is that for IDs are actually made unique. So let's say that if I have this first div over here, right? And I'm just going to change this color so they're a little bit stand out. So you can see that I have blue, and I have red, and I have blue, right? So where the IDs and where the classes are used? Well, the IDs are used if you want your block to be unique. So let's say over here I would create an attribute ID, and I would set it equal to, and I would give it a name, let's say, I don't know, special box, right? So now I know that I have a special box that's going to be uniquely designed, because whenever I'm going to be working with CSS, whenever I'm going to pick this ID, no other element is going to have the same name. The purpose of ID is that, let's say I want this box to be special, so I give it ID and I give it a special name that I would know that this is very unique. However, with the classes is, if I would want to, let's say, create some kind of attribute class over here, and I would just say box, and I would style that, I would style it over here, then I could do the same thing where I could just go over here, and I would just copy this, and actually I would add it to the same div. I could say, you know what, I want both of them to be, let's say, to have the same class. So you can do with classes. You can add the same class to, like, let's say, multiple elements. You'll be able to add it to the unordered lists. You're going to be able to add it to list items. However, whenever we're going to be working with IDs, we'll be uniquely setting those IDs, like we did when we were using the links. We were not just putting willy-nilly. We were actually adding an ID for a specific place where we wanted to go on a web page. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. What is going on, guys, and welcome to HTML tutorial in brackets. In this video, we're going to cover two things that we're going to be using a lot in CSS, two elements, and it's going to be div element and span element. Now, div element is used to group text elements in a block. So let me show you how it works. So let's say right now I create a div. And in order to create a div element, I would have to write div. And right away, you can see that brackets is creating a opening and a closing tag, right? But you're saying, well, wait a minute. I mean, I don't see anything. Nothing is showing up there, right? Well, let's place a text inside there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place there an unordered list. And I'm just going to create, I don't know, 3 list items. And over here again, I'm going to say home, and then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to say info and an about, right? Info and about. And you're still saying, well, wait a minute. I mean, I cannot see anything. What are you talking? How does it group text elements in a block? Well, again, we're going to do this little trick, the same like we did with the table, where we're going to actually add style so we can actually see the element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here over here style, and I'm going to write border, and I'm going to say here 2 pixel again, solid red, right? So now all of a sudden you can see where is my div element. So you can see this is the div element, and you can see how it is actually working with the text, how it's actually grouping the text in the block, right? So what we're going to be able later to do with CSS, we're going to be able to change the background color. We're going to be able to change the layout over here. However, all this is going to happen within this block. We're not going to be actually, as we're going to be styling this div, we're not going to be touching the rest of the page. And just to show you, let's say that I'm going to copy this one right here, and I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. And now you can see there's 2 blocks. So obviously you can have infinite amount of blocks in the HTML page, and with the CSS, you're going to be able to style it however you would want, right? So let's look at the span element here, and what would be the difference. So I'm just going to delete this, and I deleted one of my divs, so that's why you can see right away this purple icon. So I need to add a div, and then I'm fine, and you see it's yellow, and now it starts working. So let's go over here, and what I'm going to write is I'm going to write a paragraph over here, and I'm going to say I am, and I'm going to leave this blank, and I am the best over here, right? But here I want to write Johnny, but I actually will eventually would want that Johnny to stand out. So I would write over here a span, and I would find a span over here. You can see element, and it creates the double tags right away, and I write over here Johnny, and you can see this little block, but this is actually with a live preview. It has nothing to do actually with what we're about to do. And what I'm gonna do again, I'm just gonna copy this just so we could see, and I'm gonna paste it again over here. And again, once we'll be dealing with CSS, we're gonna do it differently, but I'm just showing you the way right now. So you can see we didn't want all the text elements, we just wanted this one. So therefore we're using the span element whenever we want to deal with the text that is in line. This is gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.